Chapter 5982. Top 3 Director Xiaofu quickly told He Xinjiu the news with his spiritual perception. He was afraid that Yin Chujio would pursue the matter of him sleeping secretly, so he did not forget to flatter her. Master, don't worry. I'll take care of everything. You're the best. Yin Chujio could not be bothered with him. She pretended to be enlightened. I remember now. This talisman is an ice-cold talisman. I rarely see it, but I didn't remember it at the moment. The host was about to announce that she had been eliminated, but she unexpectedly answered in the end, so they had to vote for the next round. Jian Zhuyu was still the first one to be voted out, but fortunately, the question didn't stop her, and she entered the safe zone as she wished. It was unknown whether the students of the Divine Enlightenment Academy had realized or thought it through, but Yin Chujio was voted out second. Yin Chujio still mumbled for a while, and then drew a stick. This time, the question was still to identify the jade talisman seal. But this time, Yin Chujio did not need to ask the little grasshopper for help. She had seen this talisman seal on the sheepskin scroll before. Even so, this guy still thought for a long time before he said uncertainly, the diamond tiger claw talisman. Correct answer, enter the safe zone. The next 3 rounds of questions were answered. Yin Chujio had passed without any danger. In the end, only 3 people were left on the field. Dongfang Qian of the Divine Enlightenment Academy, Jian Zhuyu and Yin Qingqing of the 10 Directions Academy. President Gu was pleasantly surprised by this situation. He thought that it was already good enough for Jian Zhuyu to enter the top 3. He did not expect Yin Qingqing to also enter the top 3. It would be even better if Jian Zhuyu won the first place. As for Yin Qingqing, it was better to forget about it. She had stumbled through these few rounds of guessing and guessing. It was already pretty good for her to obtain the 3rd place. Jian Zhuyu also thought the same way. She felt that she only had one opponent, and that was Dongfang Qian. As for Yin Qingqing, this trash, she was no threat at all. Dongfang Qian's thoughts were similar to hers. Previously it was just a small matter. Now that it was time for the real deal, didn't she see that the host had changed the lot holder? The difficulty of the topic must have increased. The host asked the 3 people to vote. Jian Zhuyu's eyes flashed. He glanced at Dongfang Qian, and Dongfang Qian immediately understood her intention. She immediately voted for Yin Qingqing. Jian Zhuyu naturally voted for Yin Qingqing as well. Just like that, He Xinjiu was voted out. This guy looked at Jian Zhuyu in disbelief. Jian Zhuyu, we are classmates from the same academy. How could you vote for me? Didn't you always say that you put the big picture first? Didn't you always say that you are a friend of your classmate? So it's all fake. Jian Zhuyu's face immediately turned red, but she could not explain herself. After all, anyone with a brain could guess that she had voted for Yin Qingqing. He Xinjiu looked at her angry face, and was secretly pleased. It would be better if she angered her to death. You White Lotus. This fellow mumbled to the sky again, and drew a stick. The host saw the question on the stick, and looked at Yin Chujio sympathetically. Then, he took out a jade talisman fragment, and said, please tell me what kind of jade talisman fragment this is within 100 breaths. Jian Zhuyu immediately gloated. Even she could not tell the type of the fragment in such a short time, let alone a good-for-nothing like Yin Qingqing. Director Xiao felt that this was a good opportunity for him to make a contribution, so he asked Director Zhao in a low voice, Director Zhao, what kind of talisman fragment is that? Director Zhao shook his head. It's too far away. I can't see it clearly. Director Xiaofu, what's the use of having you? Chapter 5983. The battle for the first place. 100 breaths of time passed very quickly. The host looked at Yin Chujio sympathetically and said, Yin Qingqing, it's time. Tell me your answer. Yin Chujio gritted her teeth. I can't tell what kind of jade talisman fragment this is, but I can't give up like this. I'll just randomly guess it. Maybe God's blessing will be right. I'll guess the revolving talisman. Jian Zhuyu pouted. There were thousands of talismans. Could she just randomly guess it right? In her dreams. Then, she saw the host's face stiffen, revealing an incredulous expression. He stuttered. Yes, the answer is correct. Yin Qingqing has entered the safe zone. Jian Zhuyu. Everyone. the little grasshopper who was cursing Director Zhao in his heart. Io, what kind of heaven-defying luck was this? How could it be right just by randomly guessing? The 1,000-year-old corpse turtle emperor bug could not hold back its curiosity. Master, how did you get it right? Your luck is too good, isn't it? What luck? This is strength, do you understand? You insects are indeed brainless. He Xingjiu said with her spiritual perception. Therefore, Vice Director Xiao glared at Director Zhao, thinking that it was all because of this useless thing that caused it, and the insects to be scolded. Director Zhao, who was glared at. Was this Director Xiaofu crazy? Why was he glaring at him all of a sudden? Jian Zhiyu and Dongfang Qian began to answer the questions through the drawing of lots. Dongfang Qian successfully answered the questions, but Jian Zhiyu did not answer correctly. Jian Zhiyu was very unwilling. It was fine if it was Dongfang Qian, but why was Yin Qingqing, this trash, ranked ahead of her? However, this was the truth. No matter how unwilling she was, she could only step down unwillingly. Dongfang Qian glanced at Yin Chujiu and felt that she was definitely the first-place winner. After all, no matter how good one's luck was, there would be a moment when it ran out. Only strength was the most reliable. The two of them thought that they would continue to draw the questions, but they heard the host say, "The questions for this round are the same for both of you. That is, whoever is able to carve an explosive jade talisman in the shortest amount of time will win." Everyone was very surprised. The explosive jade talisman was almost the lowest level talisman. But there was actually such a simple question in the 100-year competition? Although Dongfang Qian was surprised that the question was simple, she felt more confident. She could carve such a simple jade talisman with her eyes closed. After the host announced the start of the competition, Dongfang Qian took the blank jade token and started to carve quickly. Meanwhile, He Xingjiu was sitting on the soft couch, absent-minded. Dongfang Qian glanced at Yin Chujiu from the corner of her eyes. Seeing that she did not move for a long time, she could not help but smile. The first place was hers. Everyone shook their heads. Yin Qingqing did not even know the simplest explosive jade talisman. She still dared to go on stage with such a standard? However, she could not hold back her good luck. Relying on the blessings of the heavens, she actually entered the finals. At the very least, she was still the runner-up. It was really infuriating. No one knew that actually, He Xingjiu's inner thoughts were as follows. How could the question be so simple? Did the person who came up with the question get kicked in the head by a donkey? Such a simple talisman seal could not be slowed down even if she wanted to. Wasn't it a little bad to be much faster than Dongfang Qian? Wouldn't it be too shocking to directly produce a supreme item? Forget it. Let's first look at Dongfang Qian's level first. In any case, it would be fine as long as she was slightly stronger than her. It wouldn't be too abrupt. Chapter 5984. First place. When Dongfang Qian had finished 1/3 of the carving, Yin Chujiu had a rough idea of her level. She then picked up the carving knife and began to carve. When the crowd saw that she had finally moved, they all stared at her with their eyes wide open and kept discussing. TSK. Not to mention other things, that Yin Qingqing's hand movements are very fast. It's almost making my eyes blur. What's the use of being fast? I think she's just randomly carving. What you said makes sense. I've never seen anyone carve jade talismans so fast. She must be putting on an act. While everyone was discussing animatedly, Yin Chujiu put down the carving knife in her hand and raised her claws. Host, I've finished carving. Dongfang Qian was immediately shocked. The spiritual energy that she had injected into the carving knife was slightly unstable. She quickly calmed down and focused on continuing to carve. She sneered in her heart. That Yin Qingqing must be lying. She must not have completed it. However, when she finally finished carving and saw the jade talisman seal placed on the table in front of Yin Chujiu, her head immediately buzzed. The jade talisman seal placed on the table was a high-grade explosive jade talisman seal. Although the one in her hand was also a high-grade talisman seal, her speed was not as fast as Yin Qingqing's. She had lost. How was this possible? Yin Qingqing had only started carving when she was 1/3 done. How did she succeed? Everyone was in disbelief when they heard the final result. How was this possible? Yin Chujio knew that it was time for her performance, so she stood up with her walking stick. After everyone was quiet, she said, "Everyone, I know that everyone must be very surprised that I can carve faster than Dongfang Qian. There is only one reason, and that is that hard work can make up for bad work. I know that my talent is limited, so I have to put in more effort than others. If others practice once, I will practice 10 times. If others practice 10 times, I will practice 100 times. Speaking of which, I am ashamed to say that I only know how to carve one type of jade talisman seal. Coincidentally, it is this bursting jade talisman seal. Practice makes perfect, which is why I am able to reach my current speed. Actually, I feel that the first place should belong to student Dongfang Qian. In terms of talisman seal strength, I'm inferior to her. It's just that I was lucky." Hearing this, everyone felt relieved. So she had been practicing the exploding jade talisman seal. No wonder her speed was so fast. This made sense. It was also because she was lucky. If it were any other topic, she would definitely not be able to compete with Dongfang Qian. It could only be said that Dongfang Qian originally had some fear towards Yin Chujio, but now it had turned into self-consolation. It turned out that she was just lucky and could not compete with herself. Below the stage, Ding Wenru cursed in her heart. How could diligence make up for clumsiness? Liar! When the wall was blown up earlier, this fellow was much faster than this. Moreover, those were all supreme grade items. Although Yin Chujio had said a few heartfelt words, the result could not be changed. The first place in the talisman competition still belonged to Yin Qingqing and the 10 Directions Academy. Although President Gu was a little surprised that Yin Chujio could win the first place, his excitement was beyond words. President Yu pursed his lips. What was there to be proud of? It was just a blind cat meeting a dead rat. There was still the alchemy competition. Even if the 10 Directions Academy won the top 10, the total score was still not as much as the Divine Enlightenment Academy. Moreover, it was impossible for the 10 Directions Academy to win the top 10. Therefore, the Divine Enlightenment Academy would definitely win the 100-year competition. The people of the 10 Directions Academy also knew that they might not even win the 100-year competition in theory. However, they would not lose if they lost. They still had to strive for a good result in the last alchemy competition. Chapter 5985. Little Grasshopper's plan. As the most favored contestant of the Academy of 10 Directions, Xiao Lianxiao was both proud and nervous. Therefore, after returning to the base, she immediately came to see Director Xiaofu. "Second uncle, I'm a little nervous. Do you think I can get into the top 3? Xiao Lianxiao asked somewhat nervously. Although Director Xiaofu was impatient, in order not to reveal anything, he still said against his heart, "Lianxiao, you're so outstanding. You're not just in the top 3. I think the first place belongs to you." Xiao Lianxiao's eyes immediately lit up as she said, "Really? Second uncle, do you really think that I can get first place? Today that trash Yin Qingqing is in the limelight. If I can get first place, I can kill her prestige." The 1,000-year corpse turtle Emperor Bug's heart moved, and he said, "Of course, you are the pride of our Xiao family. Lianxiao, recently, I have also become somewhat interested in alchemy. Do you have any alchemy books in your hands? Lend them to second uncle. He'll return them to you in a few days." Xiao Lianxiao was so confused by the 1,000-year corpse turtle Emperor Bug that she couldn't find her way around. How could she not agree? She immediately transferred all the alchemy books in her storage ring to it. The 1,000-year corpse turtle Emperor Bug got what it wanted. With a concerned expression it said, "It's getting late. You should quickly go back and rest, lest you delay tomorrow's competition." "Second uncle, then I'll go back. You should rest early too." Xiao Lianxiao left happily after saying that. The 1,000-year-old corpse turtle Emperor insect curled its lips. That little girl even said that the insect race didn't have brains. These stupid humans were the ones who really didn't have brains. It looked at the books in its hands and felt proud. If that little girl encountered another difficult problem tomorrow, and Chancellor Run of the Alchemy Division couldn't answer it, it could also rely on itself. It was really too smart. In order to find the answers faster, It had to familiarize itself with the books, even if it did not sleep today, in case it could not find the answers. On the other side, Ding Wenru asked He Xinjiu, who was reading a sheepskin scroll, "Are you going to participate in the alchemy competition tomorrow?" Yin Chujio shook her head. "I originally wanted to participate, but today's talisman competition made me understand a principle." "What principle?" Yin Chujio sighed. "Although I'm brilliant, talented, intelligent, and unparalleled, I'm not omnipotent. I've only read half of the sheepskin scroll. If I lose face in the alchemy competition tomorrow, it won't be worth it. So it's better not to participate." This guy was telling the truth. Although she won first place in the talisman competition today, the process was not smooth. Moreover, even if she won first place in the alchemy competition, it would not change the outcome of the 10 Directions Academy losing. There was no need to take the risk. She thought for a moment and added, "In case of complications, we might as well not go to the competition site tomorrow. Just say that my injuries are serious and I can't go. It's a good opportunity for you to take care of your Nangong Shi Hihi." Ding Wenru was both embarrassed and angry. She glared at her and ignored her. He Xinjiu laughed evilly again. "Oh right, Sister Ding, you haven't seen Nangong Shi all day, right? I wonder if he's better. His injuries aren't light. Why don't you go and see him while it's still not too late?" Ding Wenru hesitated for a while before she left in a hurry. He Xinjiu sighed. She didn't know when she would see the pretty boy again. How could she miss him after only being apart for a few days? This fellow remembered that Di Baiming wasn't in the mood to look at the sheepskin scroll anymore. He lay there in a daze, recalling what had happened in the ruins of miracles. She suddenly remembered the red mask that she had thrown into the spirit beast bag. So she scanned the spirit beast bag with her spiritual sense. Chapter 5986 was read at night in the spirit beast bag. The little dragon and Peach Blossom were mumbling something while Buttface was watching them with a resentful look. He Xinjiu couldn't help but laugh in her heart. Buttface was a living example of what it meant to be a single dog. Yin Chujio moved her spiritual sense away from Buttface and saw Shaimo in the corner. Shaimo knelt in front of the red mask devoutly. His mouth opened and closed, but no one knew what he was mumbling about. Yin Chujio's heart skipped a beat, and she activated her spiritual sense to communicate with him. "Shaimo, what are you doing?" Shaimo said unhappily, "I'm reporting to His Majesty, the Demon Emperor, about what happened all these years. Don't disturb me." "You're really stupid to say that you're stupid. This mask isn't the Demon Emperor. What's the point of saying all this?" Yin Chujio curled her lips and said, "I'm willing. It's none of your business." Shaimo said impatiently. Yin Chujio gritted her teeth. This damn Shaimo was getting more and more arrogant. He really deserved to be taught a lesson. Therefore, He Xinjiu used her spiritual sense and took out the red mask from the spiritual beast bag. "What are you doing? Give me back the mask of the Devil Emperor." Shaimo roared angrily. Yin Chujio ignored him. She held the red mask in her hand and looked at it a few times. She curled her lips. "Is this nothing special? Are you sure this is really the mask of the Devil Emperor?" "Of course. There is the aura of our Devil Emperor on it. Quickly return the mask to me. Otherwise, your dirty hands will tarnish the mask of the Devil Emperor." Yin Chujio curled her lips. "You want the mask? That will depend on your performance. Come, say something nice to make me feel comfortable." Shaimo was naturally unwilling to give in at the beginning, but when he heard that Yin Chujio wanted to draw a little bastard on the mask, he could only gnash his teeth and say, "Master, I was wrong." Yin Chujio snorted coldly. "Do you know where you were wrong?" Shaimo resisted the urge to curse and said against his heart, "I shouldn't have treated Master so badly. I've realized my mistake, and I won't make it again in the future." Seeing that he had given in, Yin Chujio snorted coldly. "Shaimo, don't forget that we have already signed the demon god contract. Even if I don't use the mask to threaten you, I have 10,000 ways to torture you. You better be tactful." Shaimo gritted his teeth in hatred, but he could only say against his heart, "Yes, I know my mistake. I won't do it again in the future. Can you return the mask to me now?" Yin Chujio didn't make things difficult for him anymore. She put the red mask back into the spirit beast's pouch. The reason was very simple. This thing had its eyes on Xiaomo, so it was useless for her to keep it. Besides, Xiaomo was still useful, so she couldn't force him too much. However, was this Xiaomo stupid? Why didn't he put the red mask into his storage ring? Wasn't he waiting to be tormented by her? Could it be that he was suffering from a torturous physique and would feel uncomfortable if he didn't get beaten up by her every few days? If Xiaomo knew He Xinjia's thoughts, he would probably be so angry that he would vomit blood. He wasn't a fool, so he naturally thought of putting the red mask into his storage ring. But he couldn't. This was really unreasonable. How could he not accept this stinky girl when he could accept her? However, he thought about it again. It was probably because he was in the spirit beast bag that His Majesty's mask had deigned to come in. It had nothing to do with that stinky girl. The next day, the last pill refining competition of the 100-year grand competition was held as scheduled. Director Xiaofu, who had 2 dark circles under his eyes, stretched his neck and looked for a long time, but did not see Yin Chujio coming over. Immediately his heart turned cold. Damn it, he was reading all night for nothing. Chapter 5987 Your eldest cousin is here. Director Xiaofu was puzzled. That black-hearted girl loved to show off and join in the fun. Why was she not here yet? The others did not feel surprised. Yesterday, that girl had endured her serious injuries and came over. It was normal for her not to come today. Moreover, she could not possibly know how to make talismans and refine pills. It was useless even if she came. Qingcheng, are you really not going over today? Ding Wenru asked tentatively. Yin Chujio flipped through the sheepskin scroll in her hand and said, I'm not going. Even if I get first place in pill refinement, it's useless. What's the point of going through all this trouble? Besides, I'm already so outstanding. If I gain another halo, how will others live? Ding Wenru. Ding Wenru saw that Yin Chujio was determined not to go to the venue, so she found an excuse to see Nangong Shi. Yin Chujio looked at Ding Wenru's back and clicked her tongue. These young people nowadays only know how to love each other all day long. There aren't many people who are as diligent and eager to learn as me. This guy muttered a few words and continued to look at the sheepskin scroll in his hand. In the end, this guy was still not confident. Otherwise, how could she let go of such a good opportunity to make a name for herself? While this guy was looking, a guard said from outside, Student Yin, your relatives are here to visit you. Yin Chujio was stunned. Relatives are here to visit you? How could she have any relatives in the Divine Enlightenment continent? While she was puzzled, she walked out of the house with her walking stick. City Lord Morong arranged a separate courtyard for President Gu and the others, but these students' rooms were all together, sharing the same courtyard. Therefore, Ding Wenru, who was speaking in Nangong Shi's room, also heard the guard's words and went into the courtyard. Yin Chujio looked at the guard who reported the news with confusion. My relative? What relative? He said he's your eldest cousin, the guard said. Originally, he wasn't willing to come in to report, but that person was so generous that he found it hard to refuse, so he came in to say. As for whether he would see him or not, that had nothing to do with him. Yin Chujio's face immediately stiffened. Her eldest cousin? Needless to say, it must be the blue dregs who had found him. She also knew that no matter how hard she tried to hide it, she would not be able to deceive that blue dregs. Should she see him or not? When the guard saw that Yin Chujio did not say anything, he thought of the person's instructions and said, Student Yin, your eldest cousin said that he has something very important to tell you. It's about your parents. Yin Chujio was so angry that she gritted her teeth. It was about her parents. She wanted to see them whether she wanted to or not. Yin Chujio greeted Ding Wenru and pretended to limp as she followed the guard to the place where the guest was. Fortunately, it was not too far away, and they arrived very quickly. The guard had previously received the money, so it was naturally convenient for him. After leading Yin Chujio to the place, he retreated and even helped to close the door. Yin Chujio rolled her eyes and looked at Lan Luochen, who was wearing a bamboo hat in front of her. She thought to herself, at least he was tactful and knew how to cover up. Otherwise, if those people from the Divine Devil Hall saw her, her identity would be exposed immediately. Since Lan Luochen had already come looking for her, it was useless even if she did not admit it. Hence, this fellow said enthusiastically, "Ayo, big cousin, long time no see. How have you been?" Lan Luochen took off his bamboo hat and placed it on the side. He glanced at Yun Chujio. His gaze did not have the usual crazed and infatuated look. He said indifferently, "I'm all right." Yun Chujio could not help but feel her heart skip a beat. What was this Lan dregs up to this time? Why did he look different from before? Yun Chujio suppressed the doubt in her heart and asked, "Big cousin, why are you looking for me?" Chapter 5988. I need to be more humble in the future. I'm sure you also know that I'm in an awkward situation in the Bai family, so I need external help. And if you want to save your parents, you'll have to clash with the 10,000 Buddha's sacred palace sooner or later, and you'll need help. So I came here today to cooperate with you. Lan Luochen poured a cup of tea for Yun Chujio and himself, and said lightly. Yun Chujio narrowed her eyes. Cooperate? What kind of joke was this? It was not as if her brain had been kicked by a donkey. Big cousin, I appreciate your kindness, but I have my own ways to deal with my parents' matters. Moreover, I still have my fiancé. Yun Chujio emphasized the words fiancé. Lan Luchen's expression did not change, but his left hand under his sleeve tightened and said lightly, "He can't take care of himself. How can he help you? Little Jiao, the divine inspiration continent isn't like other continents. You won't be able to fight against a behemoth like the 10,000 Buddha's temple in a short time. Only by working together can we benefit each other. I admit that I was a bit extreme before, but now I've thought it through. I only want to get what originally belonged to my mother. I'm not in the mood to think about the affairs between children, so it won't cause you any trouble." Yun Chujio sighed faintly. "Eldest cousin, whether what you said is true or not, but in order to not let my fiancé misunderstand, it's better for us to have less contact. As for the matter of cooperation, you'd better find someone else." Lan Luchen's hands tightened under his sleeves again, but his tone didn't fluctuate. "All right, since you're unwilling, I won't force you. Goodbye." Yun Chujio didn't expect Lan Luochen to give up so easily. She didn't believe it until Lan Luochen disappeared. She wondered what was going on. Was he plotting something again? However, the most he could do was to expose her identity. Although she hadn't officially accepted him as her teacher, the two old men would probably protect her. It didn't matter if he was willing to expose her. This guy silently praised himself in his heart. Fortunately, she was smart and had hugged his legs in advance. Otherwise, she would not be so calm and composed now. When he thought about how he had become the little ninth patriarch after returning to the academy, he immediately threw the little troubles that Lan Luochen had brought to the back of his mind. On the other side, Lan Luochen brought his bamboo hat out of the gate, and his eyes became malicious. He originally did not have much hope, but it did not matter. As long as he became strong enough, there would be a day when little Nine would not reject him. However, even if his talent was amazing, it was too slow to cultivate step by step. He might be able to consider that person's suggestion. When Yun Chujio returned to her residence, Ding Wenru asked with concern, "Qingcheng, is it really your eldest cousin who is looking for you?" Yun Chujio nodded. "Yes, it's nothing serious. He has already left." Ding Wenru only heaved a sigh of relief when she saw that Yun Chujio was as usual. In the evening, President Gu and the others came back dejectedly, although the results of the alchemy competition were not too bad, and Xiao Lianxiao was in second place. The total score was still much lower than that of the Divine Enlightenment Academy. After listening to Ding Wenru's explanation, Yun Chujio sighed. "Sister Ding, I feel a little bad. Although I got first place in the first round of the competition, 10th place in the spiritual power competition, and first place in the talisman making competition, I still feel like a good for nothing. After all, in the past, I always got first place in the competition. This is the first time I have encountered a setback. As expected, one should not be too proud. I must be more modest in the future." Chapter 5989, returned to the 10 Directions Academy. Ding Wenru was speechless. After a while she said, Qingcheng, you can put your modesty aside. The Northern is not here for the time being. When you return to the academy, there will be rumors. You have to be mentally prepared. Yin Chujio raised her eyebrows. Mentally prepared for what? Those people didn't dare to go too far in the past. They were more or less afraid of Beiyu. Now that Beiyu is not here, those people will definitely become even worse, Ding Wenru said worriedly. As expected, women in love are all fools. Now that we have 2 indestructible backers, what are we afraid of? The 10 Directions Academy can do whatever they want. Whoever dares to provoke us will die. Yin Chujio said smugly. Qingcheng, I know you are talking about the 2 Supreme Elders, but can they help us? Can you really learn the things on the sheepskin scroll in a month? Moreover, even if you can learn it, there is still a month. Don't worry. Even if those 2 old men are not our master now, I still have a way to make them vent their anger on our behalf. You just wait and see. Hei Xinjiu smiled sinisterly like a wolf with a big tail. Although she had already complained about it previously, as time passed, it was inevitable that the anger of the 2 old men would subside. If there was a chance, she would fan them again and light up the fire. The next day, the people from the 10 Directions Academy left the City of Miracle for their return journey. Because they had lost the 100-year competition, everyone was not in a good mood. Because of Bai Ye's disappearance, Hei Xinjiu also pretended to be sad and occasionally wiped her tears. Ding Wenru's admiration in her heart was like a torrential river. She was impressed by her acting skills. Other than Xiao Lianqiao and Jian Zhuyu, the others treated Yin Chujio much better. After all, the scene where Yin Chujio fought with her life for the honor of the academy was too touching. Xiao Lianqiao was so angry that she gritted her teeth. Originally, she was ranked 2nd in the alchemy competition and surpassed Jian Zhuyu. But the limelight was stolen by that trash, Yin Qingcheng. How hateful. But it didn't matter. These people were really few in number. The others in the academy would definitely not be so stupid. Now that Beiyu was dead, no one would protect this trash anymore. They would deal with her when they returned to the academy. Jian Zhuyu was not in a good mood either. Xiao Lianqiao, this idiot, was nothing to be afraid of. But Yin Qingqing had won the hearts of many people this time. She had to think of a way. She thought for a moment, took out a voice transmission talisman, and said a few words. Her eyes flashed with a calculating light. 2 days later, Yun Chujio received a voice transmission talisman from Jiang Hong of the Talisman Seal Division. She had not made a sound after subduing Yin Zhang and Jiang Hong at the 6 Harmonies Waterside Pavilion. Others did not know that they were her people. Yin Chujio did not make things difficult for the 2 of them. She just asked them to keep an eye out for some movements. Her performance was not bad. Thinking of the news that the 2 of them had sent over, the corners of Yin Chujio's mouth curled up. She had originally been worried about how to fan the flames, but now she had someone to help her. The journey was very smooth. A few days later, everyone returned to the upper house. President Gu was not in the mood to say anything. When they reached the upper house, he dismissed everyone. Ding Wenru supported Hei Xinjiu, who was still staggering, as they walked towards the primal institution. The 2 of them had just reached the entrance of the primal institution when they were stopped by someone. The people who stopped them were more than a dozen people from the Talisman Seal branch. The person in the lead was called Jian Shenjin, the cousin of Jian Shenmu, who had been burned to death by Yin Chujio. After Jian Shenmu's death, his lackeys had all followed Jian Shenjin. Chapter 5990 was going too far. Jian Shenjin looked at Yin Chujio with a gloating expression. Yin Qingcheng, I heard that Beiyu died? TSK, now that you don't have a backer, let's see how arrogant you are. Yin Chujio couldn't be bothered with such an idiot. Just as she was about to push the door open and enter, she heard Jian Shenjin say proudly, "Oh right, didn't a few of our Talisman Seal and Alchemy branches disappear? In order to prevent your prehistoric branch from having an array formation underground, we helped you to search for it out of kindness. After rummaging through it, we finally confirmed that there was no array formation down there. Shouldn't you give us some hard-earned money? Ding Wenru suddenly had an ominous premonition in her heart. What did you say? You rummaged through our courtyard? What right do you have to enter our primeval branch without permission? How can it be called without permission? We asked the 3 chancellors who stayed behind, and the other 3 vice-chancellors to enter after obtaining permission. Moreover, I'm doing this for your own good. If you were accidentally teleported to the secret realm, you would be shocked even if nothing happened, right? Yes, Jian Chenjin said proudly. He didn't have the courage to do this at first, but when he thought of the benefits that Jian Zhiyu promised, plus he felt that Yin Chujio and Ding Wenru didn't have any backers, he dared to do this. Ding Wenru's face was livid with anger. You guys have gone too far. Qingcheng, let's go in and take a look. After Ding Wenru finished speaking, she helped Yin Chujio walk to the front door of the primal institution. The front door of the primal institution had been splashed with a lot of dog blood. Some had dried up after a long time, and some had obviously just been splashed for a short time. Ding Wenru could not care less, and pushed open the door. The inside of the prehistoric institution was in a mess. The stone tables and chairs on the ground were smashed into pieces, and the ground was dug into a mess. The windows and doors of the houses were torn down, and the furnishings inside were also smashed into pieces. Ding Wenru was so angry that she was trembling. You guys are too much. You obviously did it on purpose. Oh, go to the dean and seek justice now. Then go and look for him. We have good intentions. Jian Chenjin had an unbridled look on his face. The people from the 6 branches did not like these 2 good-for-nothings. Otherwise, they would not have been ignored when they caused such a ruckus in the primal region. So no one would care about them now. Moreover, Beiyu was already dead, and Nangongsher was injured. No one would help these 2 good-for-nothings. Ding Wenru was so angry that she started cursing, but Yin Chujio remained silent with a dejected expression. Jian Chenjin curled his lips. Forget it, look at how poor you are. You won't be able to pay for your hard work. Let's go. Qingcheng, let's go. I'll support you. Let's go find President Gu and seek justice. Ding Wenru was both angry and resentful. These people were really going too far. It was one thing for them to mess around outside the courtyard gate, but now they had actually ruined their courtyard and house to such an extent. This was too much. Yin Chujio's dejected face revealed a trace of a smile. Sister Ding, why do you think some people are so persistent in seeking death? Ding Wenru was frightened by the sinister smile on her face. What? What do you mean? It's nothing. We are not going to look for President Gu. We are going to look for the chancellors of the 6 branches. I believe they will uphold justice for us, Yin Chujio said faintly. Qingcheng, Jian Chenjin is from the Talisman Seal branch. We can just look for Director Zhao from the Talisman Seal branch. Why do we have to look for the other 5 chancellors? Ding Wenru asked in confusion. Chapter 5991 Patience. Didn't Jian Chenjin say that the 5 branches had also agreed? Since that's the case, it's naturally not good to discriminate. Let's all go and ask. Yin Chujio narrowed her eyes. Since it was a slap in the face, of course it was better to be neat and tidy. Not a single one could be missing. Although Ding Wenru did not understand, she had always followed Yin Chujio's lead. Thus, she helped Yin Chujio to the 6 branches one after another. As expected of Yin Chujio's accident, she was satisfied with the result. After hearing what had happened, Director Zhao of the Talisman Seal branch only lightly reprimanded Jian Chenjin. He asked Jian Chenjin to be in charge of restoring the prehistoric branch to its original state, and also verbally apologized to Yin Chujio and Ding Wenru. The other 5 chancellors were even more arrogant. Although Jian Chenjin had indeed communicated with the 5 faculties about this matter, they didn't know that they would take the opportunity to cause trouble. Besides, they weren't the ones who had done it, so what did it have to do with them? Qingcheng, let's go find President Gu to uphold justice. It's too much of a bully. Ding Wenru said angrily. Yin Chujio shook her head. President Gu has a lot of things to attend to every day. Let's not trouble him. Let's go back to the prehistoric faculty. Qingcheng, what do you want to do? Ding Wenru looked suspicious. This guy in front of her had always been vengeful. Why did he have to swallow his anger today? It was really abnormal. Yin Chujio smiled enigmatically. Then, she looked like she could not afford to live anymore. She sighed and said, "It's our fault that no one cares about us. It's better to avoid trouble. Let's go." Ding Wenru didn't know what this guy was up to, so she could only follow her back to the prehistoric branch. Although Director Zhao ordered Jian Qingjin to restore the prehistoric branch to its original state, it was clear that he didn't intend to do so. The prehistoric branch was still in a mess. Yin Chujio finally found a flat place, took out 2 chairs, and let Ding Wenru sit down. Then she said, "If we go to President Gu and complain, President Gu will be suppressed by the 6 chancellors. It will only be a small matter. Won't it be too easy for them? Besides, Jian Qingjin made such a scene. It is most likely the idea of that bitch Jian Zhuyu. She can't wait for me to make a big scene. In this way, the image of a good student that I made with great difficulty will become a troublemaker again. So we should just endure it." Yin Chujio narrowed her eyes. "Endure? That's right, we can only endure it for the time being. However, the time for us to turn things around will come very soon. The harder we endure now, the happier we will be in the future." She was better than anyone at scheming in her heart. This matter was not a small matter, but President Gu did not do anything for a long time. It was obvious that he was also trying to borrow her power. With her understanding of the 2 old men's temperaments, she would definitely come over to investigate secretly in the next 2 days. When she saw how miserable the primal institution was, and how their only disciple was so aggrieved, it would be very interesting. Ding Wenru pondered for a while and finally guessed something. Her face immediately revealed some anticipation. "Qingqing, are you talking about those 2? Yin Chujio nodded. "Well, set up a tent here for the next 2 days, and won't go to class. We can't let anyone destroy such precious evidence." Ding Wenru thought of the possibility of what was about to happen, and instantly felt as if she had been injected with stimulants. "Qingqing, don't worry, I understand." She was even more impressed with Yin Chujio in her heart. She had too many things to learn from Qingqing. Since she wanted revenge, she had to be ruthless. If it didn't hurt, she would just wait for the right time. Therefore, the 2 of them set up 2 tents in the corner of the courtyard, waiting for the arrival of their powerful backer. Chapter 5992. My heart is filled with bitterness. After Jian Zhiyu heard Jian Qingjin's report, she frowned. Yin Qingqing actually did not make a fuss? How was this possible? But it was also true. Beiyu was already dead, so that little slut naturally did not have the guts to make a fuss. From the attitude of the 6 chancellors, although their attitude towards Yin Qingqing had slightly improved, it was clear that they still did not like it. She only needed to find another opportunity to get rid of that slut and relieve the hatred in her heart. Very quickly, 3 days passed. During these 3 days, Yin Chujio and Ding Wenru were shut in. The people outside could still hear Yin Chujio's mournful cries from time to time. Some people gloated over her misfortune, while others felt sympathy for her. However, they all cleared their own problems, and no one came over to pay attention to them. Nangong Shi and Jiang Shuangli wanted to come over, but they were both rejected by Yin Chujio on the grounds that she was in pain. "Qingqing, it's been 3 days. Can those 2 really come? Why don't we move into the house? It's really uncomfortable to live in a tent." "Don't worry, those 2 old men will definitely come. Just treat it as if we're training." Ding Wenru saw that Yin Chujio was so confident, so she did not say anything. Anyway, Qingqing had never miscalculated. She just needed to be obedient. She firmly remembered one thing. Qingqing was always right. That night, the 2 old men sneakily left the back of the mountain in the dark. It was Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu. Because the 2 of them had other matters to attend to, they returned a few days later than everyone else. They had originally arrived at the upper house during the day, but the 2 of them felt that they would lose face if they came running here. So they came over in the middle of the night. Although Yin Chujio had shown them the shadow stone, the 2 of them still did not quite believe that the primal institution had really been bullied to such an extent, so they decided to come and take a look. During the past few days, when Yin Chujio slept, she would release the Gowei Batsao to keep an eye on the movements outside. In order to avoid any unnecessary trouble, Yun Chujio made it swear a poison oath to its stone parents before releasing it. Gowei Batsao was originally unwilling to swear a poison oath, but for the sake of a short period of freedom, it had no choice but to admit defeat. This fellow wished that Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu would not come over, so that it could continue to stroll at night. Although it could not stroll to its heart's content, it was still better than staying in the Dantian to face those two idiots. Gowei Batsao saw Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu coming over, so she quickly dispersed herself and shook her leaves to wake Yun Chujio up. Yun Chujio's eyes immediately lit up. My own master has finally come. The time for revenge has finally come. This guy jumped into Ding Wenru's tent, covered her mouth, and then gave her a look. Although Ding Wenru was a little confused, her long-standing tacit understanding allowed her to instantly understand Yun Chujio's gaze. Seeing her nod, Yun Chujio let go of her hand and sighed. Woo-woo, Sister Ding, I miss our master. If they were here, they definitely wouldn't let us be bullied like this. Ching-ching, don't cry anymore. When you cry, my heart will also feel terrible. Your injuries haven't fully recovered yet. If you keep crying these few days, your body won't be able to take it, Ding Wenru advised with a sobbing tone. When Yun Chujio heard this, she cried even more sorrowfully. Sob, 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 sob. Sister Ding, my heart is bitter. Brother Bei's life and death are unknown now, and we are being bullied by the other branches. If it wasn't for the sake of protecting our master's face, I really want to fight it out with them. Chapter 5993. Anger. Ding Wenru looked at He Xinjiu, whose face was covered in tears, and suddenly felt that her acting skills needed to be improved. She pinched herself hard and said with a choked voice, Ching-chung, when will we be the leader in such a day? At least they still have the plaque of the Primal Institution. I'm afraid that the Primal Institution will cease to exist if we continue. If that really happens, I will protect the tablet of our prehistoric branch with my life. As long as I'm still alive, I won't let them have their way. This time, if it weren't for the fact that my injuries haven't recovered, and am afraid that I'll lose Master's face by being defeated by them, I would have sought justice no matter what. Yun Chujio gnashed her teeth and said, I don't know where Master and the others went. If they were here, they definitely wouldn't let us be bullied. Ding Wenru said. Yun Chujio sighed. Sister Ding, even if Master came back, I don't think he would really do anything to them. At most, he would just scold them. Impossible. Our Primal Academy has been bullied so badly. How could Master let them go so easily? Ding Wenru said disapprovingly. Yun Chujio sighed again. Alas, there is a saying that a county official is better off being in charge now. Although Master and the others have high seniority, they haven't shown their faces for so many years. The real power is in the hands of the 6 chancellors. Even President Gu has to be controlled by them. Master and the others are just empty airs. They may not dare to fall out with them. Therefore, no matter how angry Master and the others are, they will probably hold them high and let them go lightly. After all, the 10 Directions Academy still needs the support of the 6 chancellors. Bullshit. Nonsense. How can we be afraid of those little bastards? Open the door. Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu had heard their conversation clearly outside. They were not too angry when they heard that the two of them were being bullied. But when they heard Yun Chujio's last words, they were about to explode with anger. Yun Chujio and Ding Wenru looked at each other, and the two of them quickly got up and opened the courtyard door. Am I dreaming? Master, is it really you? Sob, sob, you're finally back. We've been bullied so badly that we can't even live anymore. He Xinjiu said sobbingly. Ding Wenru, who was at the side, was crying silently. Her arm was about to swell from the pinching. It really hurt. Chu Feng saw the mess in the courtyard under the moonlight, and was furious. Who did this? What exactly happened? Master, Jian Chenjin from the Talisman Script branch, brought people to do this. However, the 6 chancellors all know about this. I went to them to seek. In the end, he only lightly asked Jian Chenjin to restore the place to its original state, and verbally apologized. In the end, he didn't do anything at all. Master, I've let you guys down. I didn't protect the foundation of our Primal Academy. This is no different from someone digging up the ancestral grave. Sob. Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu were so angry that their hair almost exploded. This was too much. Looking at the small courtyard of the Primal Academy, and the drama on the gate, Chu Feng immediately roared. Good, very good. These bastards are itching for a beating. Today, I must teach them a good lesson. Chu Feng immediately took out President Gus' voice transmission talisman. Get everyone to scram to the prehistoric institution immediately. If anyone isn't here within an hour, get the hell out of the 10 Directions Academy. After Chu Feng finished speaking, he blasted the walls on both sides into powder with a few palms. Firstly, it was to vent his anger. Secondly, this place was too small. There was no place for people to stand. Chapter 5994 was a good death. After receiving the voice transmission talisman, President Gu, who was sleeping soundly, thought for a moment and understood what was going on. His eyes flashed. He had deliberately ignored Jian Qingjin's matter earlier, because he had been waiting for this moment. As the president, he was also a coward. There were many things that he could not make the decision on. In fact, the shadow guards had even been replaced by someone else. It was a good opportunity to take advantage of this opportunity to consolidate his power. He didn't dare to be negligent, so he quickly passed on the news, and then went to the prehistoric branch. At this moment, He Xinjie was persuading Chu Feng. Master, don't punish us too severely later. It's almost enough. You two haven't shown up for many years, and no one knows you. Therefore, they might not recognize your identities. After all, not everyone is as respectful as President Gu in U.S. Yun Chujio said with some anxiety. Humph. Don't recognize them? If they dare to talk nonsense, I'll slap them to death. Chu Feng said in a bad mood. Master, I think it's better to forget about it. After all, there are only 4 people in our primal institution. If we really offend those people, we won't be able to take advantage of them. You little trash. You coward. What are you afraid of? If they dare to make a move, I'll let them know what it means to respect your master. Chu Feng roared with red eyes. There was really no tiger in the mountain. A monkey was the overlord. And a few little rascals still wanted to rebel? They really deserved a beating. He Xinjie felt that it was enough, so she did not speak anymore. Anyway, there would be plenty of opportunities to fan the flames later. She had always been a person who would seek revenge for the smallest grievance. Today, she would definitely let them peel off a layer of their skin. At this moment, President Gu arrived. Although he had also heard that the Primeval Academy had been badly damaged, the scene before his eyes was even more serious than he had expected. He immediately lit a candle for the 6 chancellors. Chu Feng was still in a rage. When he saw President Gu, he immediately reached out his hand and was about to slap him away. He Xinjie quickly said, Master, this matter has nothing to do with President Gu. He hasn't been well recently, and some things are beyond his control, so we didn't report this matter. President Gu looked at Yin Chujio gratefully, and quickly said with a face full of shame, Seniors, this is my negligence. Although I have heard a little about this matter, I didn't expect the situation to be so serious. In addition, I haven't been feeling well recently, so I didn't come to check it out personally. Please punish me. Master, please don't punish the headmaster. If it weren't for him taking care of us, I'm afraid we would have been kicked out of the upper house long ago. He Xinjie pleaded on the side. Chu Feng snorted. Look at you. I don't think you have the guts to bully them. Get lost. President Gu wiped the cold sweat on his forehead. He knew that he had passed this hurdle, so he was very grateful to He Xinjie, who had pleaded on his behalf. Yun Chujio blinked her eyes. Master, as the saying goes, hearing is false, seeing is believing. Why don't you two take a seat in the room and let the president handle this matter? Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu looked at each other. Then Chu Feng said to President Gu, All right, let's do as the little trash says. You handle this matter. President Gu nodded his head in agreement and began to make plans in his heart. After a while, more lecturers and students arrived one after another, but the 6 chancellors were still late. President Gu sneered in his heart. Usually, when he called for a meeting, These people would always be late on purpose. This time, as expected, they still didn't come in time. They really did a good job. Chapter 5995 was making a mountain out of a molehill. The lecturers and students, who had already arrived, looked puzzled and curious. Why had they been summoned here in the middle of the night? Why didn't they go to the square, but instead came to the primal institution? Also, why were the 2 walls of the primal institution gone? Yin Chujio felt that it was necessary to give the 6 chancellors some eye drops. Taking the opportunity to enter the house to retrieve something, this fellow muttered to himself, "This half an hour has already passed. How to become a chancellor? They still haven't come. Could be to sleep too dead?" Xu Feng was already furious, hearing Yin Chujio's words. How could he not be angry? In the heart of the president run, and others more dissatisfied, hate to see people directly after the slap to death. The 6 chancellors did not go too far. After a while the 6 came together. They were also puzzled. Why did President Gu call them here in the middle of the night? Could it be because of Jian Qingjin's matter? It had been a few days. Why did they only pursue it now? Even if it was this matter, it shouldn't be so troublesome in the middle of the night, right? Or did something happen in the primal institution? Did the houses also disappear? Could it be that the person surnamed Gu was deliberately torturing them? This was really outrageous. The 6 of them were displeased. So after entering the primal chaos branch, their faces didn't look so good. "Dean, why did you summon us here in the middle of the night?" Dean Run of the alchemy branch asked in a bad mood. "A few days ago, my health wasn't good, so I didn't ask about the primal chaos branch. However, Yan Qingqing and Ding Wenru asked me to uphold justice tonight, so I had no choice but to gather everyone here. The prehistoric branch is one of the branches of the upper house. Although there are only 2 students, Yan Qingqing and Ding Wenru, we should treat them equally and not discriminate." Before President Gu could finish his words, President Zhao of the Talisman Seal branch impatiently said, "President, I have already taken care of this matter. Is there a need to drag everyone here in the middle of the night? Aren't you making a mountain out of a molehill? Yan Qingqing and you, your performance in the 100-year grand competition, originally, made me change my opinion of you. I didn't expect you to make such a scene again. It's really disappointing." Yin Chujio immediately said with grievance, "Director Zhao, I didn't want to make a scene. It's mainly because you asked Jian Qingjin to repair the courtyard, but he didn't do it. Also, you asked him to apologize to me, but he didn't show up. How did this become my fault?" Director Zhao immediately choked and said impatiently, "The upper academy has a lot of handymen. You can just find someone to repair it. Is there a need to make a big fuss over nothing? Moreover, Jian Qingjin's intentions were good. He was afraid that there was an array formation under your primal sub-academy. It's fine if you don't appreciate it, but you actually bite back. You're really insensible." Yin Chujio immediately said with a sobbing voice, "Director Zhao, you are well informed. Can you really not tell whether Jian Qingjin has good intentions or evil intentions? Poor Ding Wenru and I have been bullied ever since we entered the upper house. Our territory has been taken by you, and the good stuff has been taken by you. No one can make a decision for us, so we can only endure it. But now you are still so aggressive. You are not giving us a way out. Are you only satisfied with the complete disappearance of our prehistoric branch? You are really too much." President Gu coughed and said with some dissatisfaction, "President Zhao, some things should not be done too much. Men, bring Jian Qingjin here. I want to interrogate him again." "I don't agree," Director Zhao said unhappily. Chapter 5996 Director Zhao didn't really want to protect Jian Qingjin, but he felt that President Gu was giving him face by doing so. Moreover, Yan Qingqing, this troublemaker, had previously hung up signs all over the Talisman Seal Division, and even talked about the fact that their Talisman Seal Division occupied land. It was only right for her to learn a lesson. To be honest, whether it was Director Zhao or the other 5 chancellors, they couldn't fall in love with Yin Chujio. The existence of her and Ding Wenru was a reminder that they had taken advantage of the prehistoric division. In addition, They knew that they wanted to limit President Gu's power, so they naturally wouldn't obediently comply. Director Zhao gave the other directors a look. Director Run and the others understood and agreed. That's right, Director. Don't bother in the middle of the night. Just ask Jian Shenjin to come over and apologize. Tomorrow, get someone to repair this courtyard. That's right. It's not a big deal. Is there a need to make such a big fuss? President Gu saw them jumping up and down. He looked very ugly on the surface, but in his heart, he was overjoyed. He couldn't wait for them to be as arrogant as possible. In the room, Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu were fuming with anger. It seemed that these little brats had indeed bullied those two little wastes many times. Moreover, they couldn't wait for the prehistoric branch to disappear. The two of them couldn't take it anymore and walked out of the room. Director Zhao and the others looked at the two of them suspiciously. They were puzzled. Who were these two old men? How come they had never seen them before? President Gu saw that the two of them were livid, and he knew what was going on. He quickly went forward to greet them, seniors. Scram to the side, you useless things. Chu Feng slapped President Gu to the side, and then he slapped Director Zhao's face. Director Zhao naturally wouldn't be so stupid as to be slapped in the face. However, his body was suddenly intimidated by the huge pressure, and he actually didn't dodge. He really took a slap. Chu Feng wasn't able to vent his anger and slapped him again. Then, he kicked him more than 100 feet away and landed heavily on the door. He was covered in dog blood. Zhuang Mu didn't stay idle either. He carried Director Run like he was carrying a little chick. After a slap, he also landed on the door. The other four received slightly better treatment. They were not slapped and were sent flying with a kick. President Gu shrunk his neck. It seemed that these two people treated him quite well. Although they scolded him a lot, at least they did not fight, right? Director Zhao and the other three were completely stunned by the beating. Firstly, they did not know why they were beaten. Secondly, they did not know the identity of these two elders. Thirdly, they were not so useless. How could they be beaten so miserably? Yin Chujia watched from the side and felt relieved. However, she felt that it was a little too light. Therefore, she shouted worriedly, Master, Master, please don't do anything. If you anger them, the consequences will be unimaginable. Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu originally wanted to stop. After all, these 6 brats were the chancellor of the branch school, so they could not be too ruthless. However, when they heard He Xinjia's words, they immediately became furious. Bang! Bang! They kicked each other again, almost knocking the 6 people unconscious. Master, Master, it's almost enough. After all, the plaque of our primeval branch school is still there. They aren't too ruthless, He Xinjiu advised kindly. Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu were even more furious. Yes, the plaque was still there. Fuck, there was only one plaque left. Just as the little girl had said, this was almost the same as digging up the ancestors' graves. If they did not beat them up, they would be letting down the ancestors of the primeval sub-academy. Chapter 5997, The Soft-Hearted and Kind He Xinjiu. Therefore, the people of the 10 Directions Academy watched helplessly as the usually unreachable 6 chancellors were beaten up miserably. The most surprising thing was that they didn't even have the strength to fight back. Was it because the 2 old men were too powerful, or was it because of other reasons? Director Zhao and the others were in pain, fear, anger, and shock. What on earth was going on? He Xinjiu felt that it was about time, so she tried to persuade them. Masters, they are, after all, the directors of the branch school. It's better to leave them some face. Stop beating them. Chu Feng kicked Director Zhao again and said to Yin Chujio, You little trash are too soft-hearted and kind-hearted. You've been bullied to the head, and you're still pleading on their behalf. Ding Wenru, who was at the side, he soft-hearted and kind-hearted. You must have misunderstood these 2 words. Only then did Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu stop. He Xinjiu quickly took out 2 chairs from her storage ring and invited the 2 of them to sit down. She even specially took out a tea table and placed tea and pastries on it. Chu Feng looked at He Xinjiu, who was so obedient, and then looked at Director Zhao and the others who were on the ground with bruises and bruises. He became more and more displeased with them. President Gu felt very comfortable in his heart. Well done. Well done. However, his face was full of fear and trepidation. He said to Director Zhao and the others, "These are the two grand elders of our 10 Directions Academy. This is Elder Zhuang Mu, Elder Zhuang, and this is Elder Chu Feng. They retired from the world 1,000 years ago and have been cultivating in the back mountain, guarding our 10 Directions Academy." Oh right. Elder Zhuang was originally the Chancellor of the Prehistoric Branch, while Elder Chu was the Deputy Chancellor of the Prehistoric Branch. Director Zhao and the others suddenly felt as if the world was spinning. What was that? There were 2 old demons in the Prehistoric Branch? It's over, it's over. If they had known that the people of the Prehistoric Branch were not all dead, they would not have done this. No wonder they did not even have the strength to fight back. The cultivation of these 2 old demons naturally crushed them. At this time, Yin Chujio sighed at the side. "Master, I knew that you guys wouldn't come out. If you came out suddenly, you wouldn't be recognized. Otherwise, why didn't they greet you too?" Director Zhao and the others almost vomited blood. They were clearly too shocked, okay? They hadn't even had the time to greet them. Hearing He Xinjia's words, Chu Feng immediately threw the teacup in his hand at Director Zhao. "You little brats, are you trying to rebel?" Director Zhao and the others quickly knelt on the ground and begged for mercy. They had no choice. The dire situation of the Primal Academy was right there. It was useless even if they wanted to quibble. Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu saw that Director Zhao and the others were still tactful, and their anger finally subsided a little. Director Zhao, who had been beaten the most, quickly said, "Elders, I was wrong. I will punish the culprits and expel them from the 10 Directions Academy." Jian Shenjin and his lackeys in the crowd were so scared that they fell to the ground. It was over. If they had known this would happen, they would not have come to the prehistoric institution to cause trouble. They had thought that the prehistoric institution was a soft persimmon, but it turned out to be iron thorn, and it was the poisonous kind. The others also apologized and said that they had neglected their duty. Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu were not so angry after beating them up. When they were about to ask them to stand up, He Xinjiu kindly pleaded for mercy. "Masters, since the 6 chancellors have realized their mistake, let's just forget about it. As the saying goes, knowing one's mistake can improve one's life. After all, the daily operations of the upper house cannot be done without them. If the punishment is too severe, I'm afraid that the upper house will be in a mess." Chapter 5998. I'm really too miserable after hearing the first 2 sentences. Director Zhao and the others were still in tears of gratitude towards Yin Chujio. After hearing the last sentence, they were so angry that they almost fainted. How was she pleading for mercy? She was clearly fanning the flames. As expected, Chu Feng's expression turned gloomy again. "It seems that the power in your hands is really too great, so you're just drifting away. You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. From today onwards, other than daily affairs, all other powers will be handed over to President Gu." Chu Feng originally wanted to say Little Gu, but after thinking about it, it was better to leave him some face in front of the students, so he changed his words. President Gu was so moved that he almost cried. After so many years, this was the first time that Little Gu had become President Gu. His longtime wife had finally become a mother-in-law. When he thought that the power of the 6 branches would be handed over to him, he was even happier. Director Zhao and the others naturally did not want to be divided, but when they thought that they had no power to fight back and did not dare to resist, they could only grit their teeth and nod in agreement. Just when they thought that the matter had finally come to an end, He Xinjiu said again, "6 directors, shouldn't the territory and things that you borrowed be returned to the original owner?" Director Zhao and the others wished that they could sew her mouth shut. This troublemaker was really too wicked. Director Zhao and the others did not have the guts to lie, but they were unwilling to return the territories and things, so they began to beg for mercy one by one. "Elders, we have no choice. There are more and more students, so we don't have enough space, so we borrowed a few courtyards of the prehistoric branch. Yes, we are also considering the overall situation of the academy. We can't be so idle and have no place to teach in other branches, right?" We have also used those things in teaching, and it is also to improve the students' grades. We really don't have any selfish motives, it is all for the academy. Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu had heard about this matter from President Gu. Now that they heard about it from Director Zhao and the others, they were not too angry. Yin Chujio mumbled to the side. What a nice way of saying it. It's just like a turtle dove taking over a magpie's nest. If you don't ask, you're stealing. You don't have the money to steal from your neighbors, so you're justified? Shameless. Director Zhao could not take it anymore. He roared at Yin Chujio. Yin Qingqing, shut up. Yin Chujio immediately looked at Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu with tears in her eyes. Master, he's angry at me. Sob sob, he dared to bully me in front of you. You can imagine what kind of life I had in the past. It's already a miracle that we can live until now. Woo woo, I'm really too miserable. Chu Feng immediately threw the teacup at Director Zhao. You bastard, why are you angry? If you're angry again, get the hell out of the Academy of 10 Directions. Director Zhao was angry and aggrieved. He mumbled, Elder Chu, as the director, there's nothing wrong with me lecturing the students, right? Yin Chujio immediately placed her hands on her hips. You can lecture other students, but you can't lecture me. I have a master. Why would I need you to lecture me? Besides, I'm my master's disciple, and my seniority is higher than yours. If you count it, you still have to call me martial uncle. Only then did Director Zhao and the others realize that Yin Chujio had always addressed Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu as master. Could it be that these two had taken in Yin Qingqing as their disciple? If that was really the case, then how would they live in the future? Wouldn't this troublemaker torture them to death? Chapter 5999. The few of you Jew director, Zhao looked at Chu Feng with a glimmer of hope. Elder Chu, is Yin Qingqing really your disciple? Chu Feng was about to deny it. After all, he had not thought it through yet when he heard Yin Chujio point at Director Zhao and berate him angrily. Martial nephew Zhao, what do you mean by this? By asking this, do you think that my two masters are not qualified to be my masters? Even though I am a little outstanding, even though I made a name for myself in the 100-year grand competition, and even though there are many people who are fighting to be my masters, I am not a bastard who would betray my masters and destroy my ancestors. Once a master, always a father. In this life. In the next life, I will be the disciple of my two masters. Master, come drink some tea. Don't be angry with such a fool. It's not worth it. Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu, who were dumbfounded, held the teacup in their hands and opened their mouths. Before they could think of what to say, Yin Chujio placed her hands on her hips and pointed at Director Zhao and the others. It's not that I'm praising my two masters. Not everyone has the wisdom of the two of them to be able to find a pearl, like me, among tens of thousands of people. If it weren't for the two of them carefully teaching me, I wouldn't have performed so well. If it weren't for me risking my life, the reputation of the 10-Directional Academy would have been trampled on. This was also because my master and the others had just taken me in and didn't have much time to teach me. Otherwise, I would have been a tyrant in the 10-Directional Academy. Cough cough, I'm talking about the top student. This fellow thought to herself. That was close. I almost went bald. Fortunately, she was quick-witted. This fellow hurriedly continued. Master, I believe that under the wise leadership of the two of you, our 10-Directional Academy will definitely shine. That bullshit Divine Revelation Academy isn't even worthy of carrying our shoes. It'll infuriate that ugly old man Qi to death. Chu Feng originally wanted to deny Yin Chujio's earlier words, but when he heard the last few sentences, his attention was immediately diverted. He felt that the words of the little girl in front of him were too pleasing to the ear. Yes, he would infuriate that ugly Qi Chen to death. Master and master, they've occupied our land and robbed us of our things. Shouldn't we let them return the things that they've occupied to their rightful owners? Otherwise, they would think that our primal academy is easy to bully. If word got out, they would definitely make fun of us. They would think that your words in the 10 Directions Academy are no longer effective. Yin Chujio said indignantly. Chu Feng automatically brought this other into Qi Chen. He immediately threw the teacup in his hand at Director Zhao. You bastard, looking at you makes me angry. The little trash was right. The few of you should quickly return the territory and things of the primal institution, or else I'll break your legs. Director Zhao and the others looked like they were about to cry. Although they were extremely unwilling, they did not dare to disobey, so they could only grit their teeth and agree. Chu Feng was just about to tell everyone to scram when Yun Chujio sighed. Masters, I don't know if I should say anything. Chu Feng looked at her. If you have something to say, say it. If you have something to say, then say it. Yun Chujio secretly scolded this old man for being too rude, but her face showed a look of sympathy. Master, although it is a matter of course for this thing to be returned to its original owner, but in this way, it will definitely affect the normal teaching of the 6 branches. I can't bear it. You see, our prehistoric branch doesn't need such a big place for the time being anyway. It's not too late to ask them to return the place and treasures after we recruit the students. At least give them some time to recover. Chu Feng was stunned and then shook his head. You little trash are really too soft-hearted and too kind-hearted. They have already bullied you to such an extent, and you still want to plead on their behalf? What a kind woman. Chapter 6000. I am a pauper. Director Zhao and the others almost spat out a mouthful of blood. This elder Chu must be blind, right? This troublemaker has nothing to do with being soft-hearted and kind, okay? However, it had to be said that her suggestion hit the nail on the head. Director Zhao hurriedly said, Elder Chu Yan, Marshal Uncle Yan's words make sense. We will definitely return the things, but please give us some time to recover. Director Zhao gritted his teeth and said Senior Uncle Yan. But in order to protect his territory, he couldn't care less. He finally saw through it. He didn't know what kind of bewitching potion this girl had fed the 2 elders, but they had been fooled by her. If he wanted them to change their minds, he could only place his hopes on this troublemaker. Seeing that Director Zhao was like this, the other chancellors had no choice but to thicken their skin and call him Marshal Uncle Yan. It was as if He Xinjie was going to burst with joy. Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu did not want to take back their territories and things immediately. Although they wanted to revive the primeval subdivision in the future, they were not in a hurry. Therefore, the 2 of them looked at each other and Chu Feng nodded. Then there's no need to return it for now. Well, return it when we need it. Director Zhao and the others thanked him profusely, and finally heaved a sigh of relief. Yin Qingqing, this troublemaker, had finally done a good deed. Could it be that she had turned over a new leaf? Marshal nephews, although this thing and territory can be lent to you temporarily, you've borrowed it for hundreds of years. Should we calculate the rent? Yun Chujio said with a smile, like a wolf with a big tail. Director Zhao and the other 3 were speechless. No wonder she was so kind-hearted. It turned out that she was blackmailing them. They couldn't help but think of the half-smile on Yin Qingqing's face when she rejected their offer to collect the rent. They couldn't help but shiver. This troublemaker was simply an example of seeking revenge for the smallest grievance. In the end, after bargaining, He Xinjie extorted hundreds of millions of spirit stones, spirit tools, and medicinal herbs. Chu Feng scolded the 6 of them again, and under He Xinjie's kind suggestion, he asked the 6 of them to come over the next day to atone for their crimes and clean the stains on the door. Only then did he ask them to disperse. Director Zhao and the others staggered out of the primeval institution. After walking for a while, they finally realized that they had been tricked again. In the future, not only would they have to return their territory and spirit tools, but they would also be extorted so many spirit stones and things by that troublemaker. It was A.H. The 6 of them gnashed their teeth in hatred, but they could do nothing about it. After all, that troublemaker had 2 big legs. They would only provoke her if they were tired of living. On the other side, He Xinjie said with a smile, Master, I'll transfer all the rental fees to you too. After all, you 2 don't have much income. These things will be enough for you to spend some time. Chu Feng immediately exploded. Bullshit, when have I ever been short of money? Those lousy things are not worth my attention. Yun Chujio immediately smiled like a flower. Master, since they are not worth your attention, then give them to me. I'm not as rich as you, I'm just a pauper. Chu Feng waved his hand impatiently. As you wish. Thank you very much, master. Not only are your cultivation high and your moral character high, but you're also so generous. I'm really lucky to be your disciple for 3 lifetimes. He Xinjia's smile was so brilliant that it blinded President Gus' face with envy and hatred. Chapter 6001. Why don't you go to heaven? President Gu wished that he had such a rich master as well. So many good things. And he just gave them to this little girl, Yin Qingcheng, so easily? But that was also true. These things were all extorted by her through her mouth. It was useless even if he just stared at them. At this moment Zhuangmu coughed. Little girl, on account of your good performance in the 100-year grand competition, I didn't expose you just now. However, we haven't decided whether to accept you or not. When the bet is lost, don't use our name to spout nonsense. Yun Chuzhou had long seen through it. Although Chu Feng was usually noisy, in reality, Zhuangmu was the one who made the decision between the two of them. She smiled confidently. Masters, there's no need for a month's time. I can fulfill the bet now. Chu Feng was stunned at first, then he curled his lips. Little trash, are you talking nonsense? Are you trying to say that you know all the things on the 2 goatskin scrolls? Yes, that's what I meant, Yin Chuzhou said lightly. Chu Feng's face immediately darkened. Little trash, you're clearly making fun of us. It seems that I've been too indulgent with you. When Chu Feng said these words, he emitted a terrifying pressure. President Gus' forehead immediately broke out in cold sweat, and Ding Wenru trembled like a leaf. He Xinjiu, however, was indifferent. Master, as the saying goes, a mule or a horse is brought out for a walk. Let's see who is the real deal. Good. I see that you won't shed tears until you see the coffin. Let's not talk about other things first. You can first draw me an ice rapid condensing talisman, Chu Feng said coldly. At this moment he was extremely displeased. He originally thought that this little girl was not bad, but he did not expect her to be so arrogant. Moreover, she did not know her mistake. She really deserved to be taught a lesson. President Gu, who was at the side, kept signaling He Xinjia with his eyes, asking her to apologize quickly. Otherwise, this master who was about to say something might fly away. President, what happened to your eyes? Did you have a cramp? He Xinjia asked with a concerned look. President Gu. Yun Chuzhou took out a blank jade token and a carving knife. She sat down on the ground and began to carve. Chu Feng snorted. Although the moonlight was not bad today, it could not be compared to a room with candlelight or during the day. This little trash was really arrogant to carve it here. However, she did not know how to do it. She might use this as an excuse later. It was really childish. At first, Chu Feng and Zhuangmu watched from the side coldly. They were thinking about how to teach this little trash a lesson so that. However, their eyes soon widened, and they could not help but stand behind Yun Chuzhou. In the end, the two of them simply squatted by the side with shocked expressions. Although the lighting was not very good, they saw that the carving knife in Yun Chuzhia's hand was as fast as a flood dragon. It was so fast that they could only see after images. At first, they thought that Yun Chuzhia was blindly carving, but when they saw the runes that had already been carved, they immediately dismissed this idea. Because those runes were not only completely correct, but the spiritual power was also inputted extremely evenly. Once it was done, this ice rapid condensing talisman might be a high-grade one. However, the first part of the carving talisman would be easier, and the later part would be more difficult, so it might not be successfully carved. However, as time passed, they were stunned to find that Yun Chuzhia's speed and strength did not change at all. Even when she stopped carving, there were no mistakes. Please take a look, masters. Sigh, I didn't control my strength well during the first carving. The light isn't very good, so the quality of this talisman is a little low. It's embarrassing. President Gu and the others looked at the high-grade ice rapid condensing talisman in her hand. They just wanted to say, why don't you go up to the sky? Could chapter 6002 concoct pills? Chu Feng snatched the ice rapid condensing talisman from Yin Chujia's hand. The runes on it were carved very accurately, and the spiritual power was injected very evenly. It was almost impossible to find any flaws. Most importantly, this little trash had carved it under such dim lighting. It was truly rare. President Gus' face was filled with shock, and he muttered, "It's only been 15 minutes. Even if he had carved a yellow-grade talisman, it would still take 15 minutes, right?" Only then did Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu realize that the little trash had only used 15 minutes to carve a black-grade high-grade talisman. Did she just say it was her first time carving it? No, that was impossible. She must have secretly practiced countless times to achieve this effect. Chu Feng said with a serious expression, "Carve another instant ground escape talisman." Yin Chujio blinked her eyes and said, "Master, let's be honest. This is my first time carving it. If the quality is not good, you can't laugh at me." Hearing that, Chu Feng was even more certain that his guess was right. The reason why this little trash could carve a high-grade ice rapid condensing talisman was that practice makes perfect. However, after 15 minutes, a high-grade instant ground escape talisman appeared in Yin Chujia's hand. The process was the same as before. "Aya, it's another upper-grade talisman. How embarrassing." He Xinjiu said with a sigh. President Gu and the others were speechless. However, they were not as shocked as before because of the ice rapid condensing talisman. Then, Chu Feng proposed a few more talismans. He Xinjiu easily completed them all, and they were all upper-grade talismans. Actually, there were a few talismans that could be made into supreme-grade talismans. However, He Xinjiu felt that it was too perfect all of a sudden. There would be no room for surprises in the future, so it was better to take it easy. Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu went from being in disbelief at the beginning to being shocked later on. In the end, they became ecstatic. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. They had actually taken in a genius disciple. It was not in vain for them to wait for so many years. They had finally waited for a peerless genius. Even if she could not refine pills, just her talisman talent alone was enough to look down on the world. If that old brat Chi-Chen knew that they had taken in such a talented disciple, he would definitely be angered to death. It was really wonderful. President Gu saw the two of them beaming with joy. He was certain that even if Yin Qingcheng's pill refining talent was not good, the two of them would definitely take her in as a disciple. Who would have thought that the little girl who had been sent to the primeval institution in a muddle-headed state would suddenly become the disciple of the Grand Elder? Things were different now. Although Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu were overjoyed in their hearts, they still tried their best to suppress their joy and said, "Your talisman has passed the test. Have you learned how to refine pills? If you haven't learned it, in fact you haven't. Don't worry, masters. Although my talent in refining pills is average, I have learned it." Yin Chujio said with a smile. Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu looked at each other. They felt that they had to polish this little girl's arrogance in the future. Had she learned it too? Impossible. No matter how talented she was, it was already amazing that she could learn how to refine talismans in such a short period of time. How could she have learned how to refine pills at the same time? When they saw the pill furnace that Yin Chujio took out, they were instantly furious. Who could tell them what was going on with the vegetable leaves on the pill furnace? "Aya, I forgot to wash the pot when I was eating hot pot last time. I really made a fool of myself," He Xinjiu said as she washed the pot. It was obvious that she had done it more than once. Chapter 6003. I am not worthy to be your disciple. Chu Feng was in a bad mood. Nonsense. This is simply nonsense. You actually used an alchemy furnace to eat hot pot. Why didn't you die from eating it? To an alchemist, an alchemy furnace was an extremely important treasure. It was usually too precious to be taken care of, but this little trash actually used it to eat hot pot. This was simply an insult to an alchemist. Yin Chujio said as she brushed the alchemy furnace. "Master, you don't know. This alchemy furnace is evenly heated and of moderate size. It's the most suitable for eating hot pot. I still have a few here. I'll treat you to hot pot some other day." Chu Feng's nose almost went crooked from anger. If it wasn't for Yun Chujio revealing her talisman talent just now, he would probably have immediately started cursing. After Yun Chujio finished cleaning the alchemy furnace, she started to refine the pills that Chu Feng had requested. Chu Feng saw that she did not care about the order of the ingredients and stuffed all the herbs into the alchemy furnace. Along the way, she would add herbs into the furnace from time to time and did not want to say a word. It seemed that this little trash did not know how to refine pills at all. No wonder she used the alchemy furnace as a hot pot. However, in less than 15 minutes, a rich medicinal fragrance spread out. Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu stared at each other. Did they really succeed? They could succeed just by messing around? It was probably just a pot of medicinal juice. It was impossible to form pills. However, when Yun Chujio lifted the lid of the alchemy furnace, and they saw the 10 round high-grade pills in the alchemy furnace, they were instantly dumbfounded. "Sai, I haven't refined pills for a long time. My skills are rusty, and am only at the high grade. How embarrassing. I've never been so embarrassed in my life," He Xinjiu said with a sigh. The courtyard was dead silent. After a long while, Chu Feng said in a trembling voice, "Refine another batch of foundation strengthening pills." Yun Chujio didn't waste any time, and immediately started refining. Her skills were the same as before. A moment later, when the furnace was opened again, there were still 10 round, high-grade pills inside. Chu Feng's lips were trembling with excitement. You refine another batch of spirit-capturing pills." When the horizon was revealed, Yun Chujio had already refined 7 batches of pills in a row. The entire courtyard was filled with the medicinal fragrance. Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu had already collapsed onto the ground. President Gu and Ding Wenru were both dumbfounded. Ding Wenru thought to herself, "Oh my god." Even though she knew that Qingqing was a pervert, she didn't expect that she's not even human. President Gu recalled that not long ago, Yun Chujio had said that she met the requirements for admission to the prehistoric branch school. At that time he had scoffed at her, thinking that she was boasting shamelessly. Now, it seemed that not only was she not boasting shamelessly, she was also very modest. No, she was 100% modest. Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu supported each other, and finally managed to stand up straight. The two of them were so excited that tears streamed down their faces. How many years had it been? They had finally found a good disciple. It was not in vain that they had secluded themselves in the back mountain for such a long time. Even if they had missed the opportunity to develop the Primeval Academy, it was all worth it to have such a genius disciple. The heavens really had eyes. Yun Chujio looked at the 2 old men, whose faces were filled with tears. She pursed her lips in her heart. Now they knew that she was well. Didn't they call her a little trash previously? She pursed her lips. "Masters, I'm really too useless. My comprehension ability is too poor. It's been half a month, and I've only learned so little. I've let you guys down. I'm not worthy to be your disciple." Chapter 6004 Taking in a disciple, or an ancestor. Stop it. It's not right for you to say that. My dear disciple, don't belittle yourself. You are the 10 Directions Academy. No, you are the best disciple in the world. You are the best. Chu Feng's old face squeezed out some flattery. Zhuang Mu was also afraid that the disciple that he got would run away. So he hurriedly said, "Yes, my dear disciple. How can your comprehension be bad? You are the most talented child that I have ever seen." "Is that so? But you didn't want to take me in before. And you kept calling me a little trash. My little heart has been hurt so badly that it's dripping with blood," He Xinjiu said with grievance. My good disciple, I was blind in the past and didn't see that you were a pearl covered in dust. You are an adult, so please forgive me this time," Chu Feng said humbly. Zhuang Mu said fawningly from the side, "My good disciple, let bygones be bygones. In the future, we will definitely take good care of you. If anyone offends you, we will help you beat them up as long as you give the order. Whatever you want, just say it. Even if it's the moon in the sky, I will help you take it down." President Gu couldn't bear to look at it. Was she taking in a disciple or an ancestor? However, it made sense. Such a talented disciple should be worshipped by anyone. Yun Chujio blinked her eyes. But what if I'm poor? My good disciple, I'll give you 100 million high-grade spirit stones as pocket money first. If you run out, you can ask Master for it. My good disciple, take these heaven-grade herbs to nourish your body. They're not worth anything, just use them as you please. My dear disciple, although these immortal artifacts aren't much, they can be used to protect your body. Here, I'll give them all to you. The envy, jealousy, and hatred in President Gus's heart were about to materialize. How could there be such a huge difference between people? This God was too unfair. All these years, he had been scolded countless times. And he hadn't even gotten the skin of a melon seed. Yet, the little girl had easily obtained so many good things. Moreover, the most infuriating thing was that it was a gift from her son. Ding Wenru did not have any other emotions other than happiness. She knew her own limits. If it was not for Qingcheng, she might not even be able to come out of the heavenly dock, let alone reach her current cultivation level. After Yun Chujio had almost finished looting, she said, Master, don't only care about me. My senior sister is still empty-handed. Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu were stunned. Only then did they remember that Ding Wenru was a 2-for-1 disciple. Although they were not satisfied with Ding Wenru's talent, they had an agreement, so they could only AC. Moreover, even if their talent was a little bad, they had pills and good things in their hands. Even if they forcefully pulled them out, they could make the little grass grow into a towering tree. The two of them were not stingy. They also gave Ding Wenru a lot of good things. Although they could not compare to what was given to He Xinjiu, it was enough to make President Gu envious. President Gu really wanted to open his mouth and ask, well, can I take in another disciple? Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu were in high spirits when it came to happy events. When they saw his pitiful appearance, they casually threw some pills and talismans to him, and President Gu was immediately elated. It wasn't that he was short-sighted, but the things on these two people weren't something that could be bought with money. Before they retired, they were among the top figures in the divine enlightenment continent. After so many years, they were even more extraordinary existences. Yun Chujio had earned a lot of money, and she was in a good mood. She looked at the alchemy furnace on the ground and said, Masters, President, shall we eat hot pot? Therefore, when Director Zhao and the others drooped their heads to wipe the door, they saw President Gu and the others happily eating hot pot. However, the bubbling thing was an alchemy furnace, right? Chapter 6005. The miserable 6 chancellors, Master. The six chancellors are here. Let's not eat them. He Xinjiu shivered as if she were a doormat. Seeing this, Chu Feng picked up an empty plate and threw it at Director Zhao and the others. You are a jinx. What did you come here for? Get out of here. Director Zhao was staring at the pill furnaces. He didn't expect Chu Feng to make a move just like that. Fortunately, Chu Feng didn't use his spiritual power. Otherwise, he would have been knocked out. Director Zhao was both afraid and aggrieved. He was the one who asked them to clean the gate. Did they think he was willing to come? Just as Director Zhao was stunned, he saw Chu Feng's old face smiling like a flower. He said to Yun Chujio softly, Good disciple, don't be afraid. Eat more. Yun Chujio mumbled, Master, it's not good for us to eat hot pot here, and let the 6 of you clean the door, right? What's not good about it? They deserve it. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and clean it. If you don't clean it properly, you'll be in trouble. Director Zhao and the others did not dare to disobey. They could only smell the fragrance of the hot pot and wiped the door sadly. They hated Yun Chujio and those students who splashed the dog blood in the past, but they had nowhere to vent their anger. When the door was almost finished wiping, they heard Yun Chujio sigh. Master, this door is almost finished, but our courtyard has been dug into a mess, and there is no room for people to live in. Why don't you sit down first? I will go and do it. My good disciple, I still want to teach you how to make talismans. Let those little brats do such a rough job. Chu Feng finished speaking to Yun Chujio in a soft voice. Then he glared at Director Zhao and the others and shouted, Did you all hear that? Clean the gate in a while, and tidy up this courtyard for me. Otherwise, don't be a director anymore. Director Zhao and the others wanted to cry, But there was nothing they could say. They could only grit their teeth and agree. They were cursing He Xinjiu in their hearts. As the primeval sub-institution had been messed up, Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu discussed and decided to bring He Xinjiu and Ding Wenru to President Gu's courtyard. President Gu couldn't ask for more. Although he couldn't eat meat, it was good to drink some meat soup. He cupped his fists at Director Zhao and the others who couldn't help him and chased after them. Seeing that everyone had gone far away, Director Zhao spat hard. Bah! Why is that person surnamed Gu pretending to be a good person? Since he knows that the two Grand Elders are from the Primal Division, why didn't he remind us? He's obviously trying to make a fool out of us. Director Ren echoed. You're right, that person surnamed Gu is too evil. However, the main culprit is still that Yin Qingcheng. If it wasn't for her adding fuel to the fire, we wouldn't have been punished so badly. Headmaster Zhou from the Spirit Power Division also said angrily. That's right, that Yin Qingqing is really a disaster. If it wasn't for her, perhaps nothing would have happened to our Spirit Power Division's Beiyu. Let's not talk about anything else. Just thinking about the spirit tools and spirit stones that were extorted by that troublemaker makes me want to strangle her to death. Headmaster Sun from the Array Division gritted his teeth and said. The few of them cursed for a while. Director Zhao's eyes flashed as he said, Brothers, we have failed this time. However, there is still time in the future. The two Grand Elders cannot always protect that troublemaker. We will find an opportunity to deal with her properly. It is not difficult to deal with her. However, if the two Grand Elders know about it, how can we survive? Director Ren said worriedly. Chapter 6006 Collusion. Director Zhao curled his lips and said, Humph! That troublemaker must have fooled the two Grand Elders with her flowery words. Her aptitude is so bad that the two Grand Elders will soon regret taking her as a disciple. We can make a move then. What you said makes sense. You can't fool them forever. I don't believe that the two Grand Elders are really willing to take a trash as a disciple. There are so many outstanding students in the academy. When the time comes, we can recommend them to the two Grand Elders. Director Sun of the Array Division echoed. When she loses her favor, it will be as easy as flipping our hands to deal with her. When the time comes, we will deal with her together with the person surnamed Gu. Director Run gnashed his teeth and said. The more they thought about it, the more they felt that Yin Qingqing did not have many days to jump around. They suddenly felt much better. Naturally, they wouldn't really repair the house. They called over a few odd job workers to help, and quickly renovated the primal region. Just as they were about to leave, Director Zhao said sternly with a swollen face, Brothers, let's make it clear first. We are all on the same side. We must advance and retreat together. If anyone has any evil intentions, don't blame us for turning against you. Everyone immediately made a solemn vow. They were all in the same boat, so of course, they had to face the outside world together. Director Sun of the Array Division staggered back to his own courtyard. On the way, he saw that the students were somewhat evasive. His old face almost turned purple. He had never been so embarrassed before. It was all because of that troublemaker Yin Qingcheng. He went back to the courtyard to wash up. After all, he had been stained with a lot of dog blood. Even though he had used the cleaning technique, he still felt very uncomfortable. Just after he finished bathing, a guard came over and reported, Director Sun, Yin Qingqing from the Primeval Branch wants to see you. What did you say? Director Sun felt that he must have heard wrongly. That troublemaker still dared to come in front of him? Wasn't she afraid that he would slap her to death? Yin Qingqing is outside and said that she wants to see you, the guard repeated. No. Director Sun gritted his teeth and said, although he wanted to slap that troublemaker to death, she was currently in the limelight and did not need to be in trouble. At this moment, he heard someone's smiling voice. Marshal Nephew Sun, who made you suffer? Why are you so angry? As he spoke, Director Sun saw a little girl push the door open and walk in. It was Yin Qingqing, the troublemaker. Yin Qingqing, you actually barged in without permission. How dare you? Get out. Director Su. Marshal Nephew Sun, what you said is wrong. As Marshal Uncle, I came to visit you. Shouldn't you be grateful? Why don't you welcome me? I came under the orders of my two masters. Are you trying to rebel? Hei Shinjio said with her hands behind her back. What orders? The courtyard gate and the house have been repaired. Why are you still looking for me? Director's son asked in a bad mood. Yin Chujio sighed. Marshal nephew's son, you really disappoint me. I originally thought that you were the smartest and most promising among the 6 postmasters. That's why I came to look for you. I didn't expect that you wouldn't understand my painstaking efforts. Since that's the case, then I'll go and meet with Chancellor Zhou and the others. As Yin Chujio said this, she turned around and was about to leave. Director's son was a little stunned and hurriedly said, Wait, speak clearly. Why are you looking for me? Yin Chujio glanced at the guard who had made the report. Director's son hurriedly waved his hand to make the guard leave. Chapter 6007 was as honest as me. Can you say it now? Director's son said in a bad mood. Yin Chujio glanced at him, and then sat on the main seat of the study. She pointed at the chair with its hands hanging down. Sit down. Director's son's nose almost went crooked from anger. This was his study, okay? This troublemaker was really not a stranger. Director's son endured it and sat on the chair. What exactly are you trying to say? Marshal nephew's son, isn't your hospitality a little too poor? I worked so hard to come here and talk to you about important matters. And you don't even give me a cup of tea? Yin Chujio looked at the desk and said unhappily. Director's son's hand clenched into a fist and then loosened. He tried to persuade himself that if he couldn't bear it, he would mess up the big plan. If he really beat up this troublemaker, he probably wouldn't be able to see the sun tomorrow. Therefore, he gritted his teeth and ordered his subordinates to bring tea and pastries. Yin Chujio sipped 2 cups of tea and ate a piece of pastries. When Director's son's patience was about to run out, she slammed the table and said sternly, Marshal nephew's son, do you think that I don't know that you guys are colluding to harm me? Director's son was shocked, but he was shrewd after all. He immediately sneered and said, Where did you say that from? Even if you want to frame me, you have to have evidence. Evidence? Of course I have evidence. Otherwise, how would I know your plan? Do you think the 6 of you are on the same page? You silly child, you have been sold and you are still helping others count the money. Yin Chujio shook her head and sighed. Director's son, who was called a silly child, had goosebumps all over his body. However, he could not care about these things now. He asked suspiciously, What do you mean by this? I'll tell you the truth. Someone has already told me what you've just schemed, Yin Chujio said lightly. Director's son snorted coldly. Schemed? What are we scheming? You're just spouting nonsense. Do you think I'm bluffing you? Didn't you guys just discuss how to deal with me after my 2 masters find out that I'm trash? Someone had already tipped me off. Yin Chujio curled the corners of her lips and said. Director's son's pupils immediately constricted, but he still denied it. This is purely a false accusation. It's not true at all. Yin Chujio narrowed her eyes and sighed. Marshal nephew's son, you are indeed as honest as I am. You always think of people as too kind. Director's son's mouth twitched. Shameless, you're not even close to being honest, okay? Sigh. I have the best impression of your array division. We don't have any conflicts, so I want to give you some advice. Since you are so stubborn, just treat it as if I came here for nothing. Yin Chujio stood up and was about to leave. Director's son would not let her go, so he quickly said, Wait, what do you want to say? Yin Chujio shook her head. Rottenwood can't be carved. It's useless for me to tell you. I might as well go and talk to someone else. I think Junior Zhou from the Beast Master faculty is not bad. Director's son was not in a hurry. He gritted his teeth and said, Senior Uncle Yen, I have a few good-tasting spirit fruits here. Why don't you try them? Yin Chujio saw the plate of spirit fruits that Director's son took out, and shamelessly put it into her storage ring. She did not even let the plate go. Well, since you're so filial, I'll remind you that the Academy wants to promote one of the 6 of you to Deputy Director. Chapter 6008 was actually very kind. What did you say? Director Sun was so shocked that his voice changed. Marshal Nephew Sun, why are you so excited? Isn't it just to promote a deputy headmaster? Is it necessary? Yin Chujio said lightly. Director Sun realized that he had lost his composure. He tried hard to suppress the excitement in his heart and said, Marshal Uncle Yin, is what you said true? Do you really want to promote a deputy headmaster? Although every branch had a chancellor and a vice-chancellor, the academy only had one president and had never appointed a vice president. If he was promoted to vice president, he would be the second in command of the academy. He might even be the successor of the next president. Of course, Director Sun was very excited. Yin Chujio nodded. Of course it's true. My two masters are not very satisfied with President Gu's performance. They feel that it is necessary to train another vice president to replace President Gu as soon as possible. Upon hearing this, Director Sun was so excited that his hands were trembling. He thought about what Yin Chujio had said before and immediately said with some excitement, Marshal Uncle Yin, you specially came to look for me. Could it be that you want to help me? Yin Chujio sighed. Of course. Otherwise, why would I come to look for you? Sigh, it's a pity that you don't understand my painstaking efforts. You even spoke coldly to me. It really makes my heart chill. Forget it. I see that you don't trust me much either. I'd better go visit other marshal nephews. Director Sun immediately became anxious. If such a good opportunity were to slip away just like that, wouldn't he regret it for the rest of his life? Marshal Uncle Yen, I was blinded by lard just now. It was all nonsense. Please don't take it to heart. Please take a seat quickly. It's time for dinner. I'll get someone to prepare dinner. There's no need for dinner. I still have to go back and have dinner with my two masters. Marshal Nephew Sun, the food and drinks are all empty. You have to show me your sincerity. Yin Chujio said, as if she was implying something. Director Sun was also a smart person. He immediately understood Yin Chujio's meaning. Since someone had already snitched on him, he didn't need to worry about him anymore. Thus, he told her everything about the conspiracy. Of course, he hid his words. Yin Chujio nodded. That's right. You are still a little sincere. It seems that I didn't misjudge him. Oh right, I have to remind you. Don't get involved with Director Zhao in the future. Didn't you see that he was beaten the most miserably? He is the one that my two masters despise the most. Director Sun nodded repeatedly. Marshal Uncle Yen, don't worry. Yin Chujio took out a porcelain bottle and handed it to Director Sunday. This is the marrow cleansing and body strengthening pill that I obtained with great difficulty from my master. I will reward it to you. Director Sun was so touched that he almost cried. This troublemaker was not that annoying. He was actually very kind. Marshal Uncle Yen, if you need anything from me in the future, just let me know. I will definitely not refuse. Yin Chujio nodded. I reckon that the news of the promotion of the vice principal will spread very quickly. However, don't worry. I have high hopes for you. I will definitely put in a good word for you. Then thank you, Marshal Uncle Yen. I will visit Marshal Uncle Yen another day. These spirit stones are a small token of my appreciation. I hope that Marshal Uncle Yen won't mind. Director Sun said as he transferred a large amount of spirit stones to Yin Chujio. The most favored person in front of the two grand elders was this Yin Qingcheng. If he wanted to stand out, he had to put in more effort on her. Chapter 6009. I have an idea. After leaving the courtyard of Director Sun, Hei Xinjiu came to see President Gu with her hands behind her back. Marshal Nephew Gu, are you reading? This guy said with his hands behind his back as soon as he entered the study room. President Gu's face stiffened. Before he could say anything, Yin Chujio continued. Look at my mouth, it's bald. You are the president of the academy. How can I call you Marshal Nephew? It's better to call you president in the future. President Gu said a few words of courtesy perfunctorily. It wasn't easy for him to get from little Gu to President Gu. He didn't want to be called Marshal Nephew Gu by this little girl again. Yen. President Gu really couldn't call him Marshal Uncle Yen, so he simply didn't address him as Marshal Uncle Yen. He directly said, You came to look for me for something? President, to tell you the truth, after I left you, I went to the Array Division's director Sunday. I could hear from his words that they hated you to the core. I'm still alright. After all, with 2 masters protecting you, I'm afraid your future will be difficult. Yin Chujio said earnestly. There's nothing I can do about it. If I ask them to hand over a part of their power, they will naturally be dissatisfied with me. President Gu believed her words without a doubt. He had also thought of this point. Yin Chujio lowered her voice. President, I have to remind you out of kindness. The 6 of them are colluding with each other and have quite a number of forces under them. You should be more careful in the future. Don't think that my master dislikes them now. However, as time goes by, this matter will be over. If they give you a hard time in front of my 2 masters, you might have to return the power that you don't have yet. You might not be able to hold on to your position as president anymore. Hearing that, President Gu immediately became anxious. Yin Qingqing's worry was not without reason. In the end, Director Zhao and the other 3 did not make any big mistakes. In addition, they were also quite capable. With the 6 of them ganging up on him, he was really at a disadvantage. Yin Chujio blinked her eyes. President, I have an idea. Do you want to tell me about it? President Gu knew that she had many ideas, so he said, Tell me about it. President, why don't we spread the news and say that we want to promote a vice president? Aren't the 6 of them targeting you just to compete for power and benefits? But with a big pie like the vice president, they will turn against each other. They won't have the energy to deal with you. They might even take the initiative to please you. At that time, won't the initiative be in your hands? President Gus' eyes lit up. This was a good eye. Once the news was released, the 6 people would definitely have a feud. At that time, if he tried to sow discord, the alliance of these 6 people would collapse. However, President Gu still had some misgivings. This idea isn't bad. However, do we really have to promote a vice president? President Gu, isn't it still up to you whether we should promote him or not? Can't we just find an excuse to fool him then? President Gu nodded repeatedly. It had to be said that this troublemaker had many wicked ideas. No wonder he took in those 2 as his masters. It seemed to be the other way around. However, no matter what, this idea was not a bad one. The 2 of them chatted about the details of this matter. Only then did Yin Chujio swagger out of President Gus' courtyard and return to the prehistoric branch. Qingqing, you're back? Where did you go? Ding Wenru asked curiously. I went to the Array Formation branch to take a look at Marshal Nephew Sunday. Here, eat the fruit. He Xinjiu threw a spirit fruit to Ding Wenru. Chapter 60:10 was quite suitable for me. Ding Wenru looked at the spirit fruit in her hand and asked in surprise. Yo, this 1,000-petal fruit is very precious. Where did you get it? Marshal Nephew's son gave it to me. I have to say, these Marshal nephews are very filial. Yin Chujio said with a smile. The corner of Ding Wenru's eyes twitched. Filial? Those few chancellors should want to strangle you to death. Seeing Ding Wenru's dumbfounded face, Yin Chujio told her everything. Ding Wenru immediately widened her eyes. I've been with you all day today. Why didn't I know about the promotion of the vice principal? It's very simple, because I did it first before reporting it. After I fooled Marshal Nephew's son, I went to find little Gu Zi to settle the matter. Yin Chujio said with a smile. Ding Wenru. Qingqing, although Director's son has been fooled by you now, if he reacts in a few days, won't he hate you to death? Yin Chujio narrowed her eyes. Otherwise, do you think that they don't hate me? Don't worry, didn't I ask him to confess the crimes of the others? I have already recorded it with the recording stone. If he doesn't listen, I will use this to threaten him. Besides, it's too late for them to fight each other. How would they have the time to doubt my words? Then how will this matter end? Are we really going to promote a vice-chancellor to the position of vice-chancellor? Yin Chujio revealed a sinister smile. Who exactly is the vice-chancellor in the end? Isn't it just a word from my 2 masters? I think I'm quite suitable. Ding Wenru. She felt that her brain and courage were not enough. You are just a new student, and you actually want to be the vice president? Isn't that a little whimsical? Ding Wenru pondered for a long time before she said tentatively, "By doing this, not only do you want to drive a wedge between the 6 chancellors, you also want to step on them and rise to the top. You also want to pin down President Gu, right?" Yin Chujio nodded her head in approval. "Sister Ding, your brain is becoming more and more flexible. You are right. It is better to rely on yourself than anyone else. Although the 2 masters doted on me, it is not reliable. Therefore, I have to make myself more valuable. If I want to display my skills, I have to have power. If I don't play tricks, no matter how open-minded President Gu is, he will not give me the power in his hands." Ding Wenru looked worried. "Qingcheng, what do you want to do with such a scheme?" "I just want to live a better and more comfortable life," Yin Chujio said lightly. This was also an idea that came to her at the last minute. The deputy dean of the 10 Directions Academy was much more useful than a favored student. In this way, not only did she not have to worry about the Divine Devil Hall finding fault with her, but she could also openly visit the 10,000 Buddha's sacred palace to cause trouble. "Then are you going to meet the other chancellors later?" Ding Wenru asked. "If I take the initiative to go, it will definitely arouse suspicion. I have to take the initiative to wait for them to come. Don't worry. Soon, the other people will know that I went to Director Sun's place. They will definitely be suspicious. I just need to wait and see. When I think of what will happen, my heart will surge." Ding Wenru looked at He Xinjiu, who had a sinister smile on her face, and lit a candle for the 6 presidents and President Gu. "By the way, how did you know what Director Sun and the others are planning?" Yin Chujio pointed at her own head. "I guessed it. They have suffered such a huge loss. They must be discussing how to take revenge on me. I was also bluffing him. Who knew that he was so stupid that he directly exposed himself?" "Ding Wenru, it's not that he's stupid, it's that you're a pervert." Chapter 6011. For your face, Director Zhao and the others had spies, so the news of Yin Chujio going to Director Sun quickly spread. Director Zhao and the others were a little suspicious. Why did Yin Qingqing go to Director Sun? She actually stayed for a long time before leaving? Thus, the next day, Director Zhao and the others coincidentally bumped into Director Sunday. "Director Sun, I heard that Yin Qingqing went to look for you yesterday? Why did that troublemaker look for you?" Director Run of the Alchemy Division probed. "It's nothing much, just a casual chat." Director Sun laughed and said, "Casual chat?" The others naturally didn't believe it. Everyone was incompatible with each other. What could they talk about? Director Zhao's eyes flashed. "Director Sun, we are all in the same boat. If you do something to let us down, don't blame us for not being polite." Director Sun recalled what Yin Chujio had said to him, and the threat in his tone. His expression immediately turned ugly. "Director Zhao, what do you mean? Don't tell me that I don't even have the freedom to talk to anyone? Or do you mean that once Yin Qingqing enters my courtyard, I have to chase her out?" Director Zhao did not show any weakness and sneered. "What are you in a hurry for? Are you feeling guilty? If you don't feel guilty, then tell me what you have been talking about. Those who are clear about things are clear about things, and those who are unclean are unclean. You can believe it or not. Since you suspect me, then don't look for me in the future." Director Sun said and left. Director Sun was furious. No wonder Yin Qingqing did not allow him to interact with Director Zhao. He was indeed a troublemaker. Did you all see that? He must have something on his mind. Otherwise, why would he be so angry? Director Zhao pointed at Director Sun's back and said. The other chancellors became more and more suspicious. Could it be that Director Sun had defected to Yin Qingqing's side? Director Zhao snorted, "Forget it. One more won't make a difference. One less won't make a difference. In the future, we'll just work together as one." The others nodded and then left. However, the news spread that afternoon immediately made everyone restless. What? The Academy wanted to promote a vice president? No wonder there was something wrong with Director Sunday. Could it be that he had already received the news? Director Zhao and the others were both angry and jealous. They began to make plans in their hearts. They first went to President Gu to test him. When they learned that the news was true, Their attitude towards President Gu suddenly became ingratiating. President Gu saw that their attitudes were completely different from before, and thought that the idea of stirring up trouble it finally made him feel proud. However, President Gu's attitude towards everyone was about the same. No one had received any useful information. President Zhou of the Spirit Energy faculty pondered over it, and felt that it was still necessary to pay a visit to Yin Qingsheng. After all, she was now the beloved disciple of the two grand elders. If she could put in a few good words for them, their chances of winning would be much greater. As for the alliance that he had formed with Director Zhao and the others, they could only stand aside in the face of benefits. "Oh, Marshal Nephew Zhou, why are you here? Did you come to visit me with a gift?" Yun Chujio put her hands behind her back, looking like a wolf with a big tail. What could Director Zhou say? He could only take out a spiritual weapon painfully. Before he could say anything, it was snatched away by He Xinjiu. "You are too polite. You came so easily. Why did you give me anything? Sai, if I didn't accept it, you would have lost face. For your face, I reluctantly accepted it." Chapter 60:12. The ostracized Director Zhao. Director Zhou's face stiffened, but when he thought of his original intention of coming, he could only endure the pain and say, "This is what I should do. It's good that Marshal Uncle Yin doesn't mind." "Of course not. It's just that my money is a little tight recently, and I don't even have the money to buy buns," He Xinjiu said with a sigh. Director Zhou was so angry that he was twitching. "Your money is tight. Are you shameless? Did you feed all the spiritual stones that you extorted to the dogs?" If He Xinjiu knew what he was thinking, she would definitely tell him that she didn't feed the dogs, but fed the pigs. Chancellor Zhou had no choice but to give He Xinjiu a lot of spiritual stones. He Xinjiu immediately smiled like a flower. "Marshal Nephew Zhou, I've always thought highly of you. As expected, I didn't misjudge you. Come sit, have some tea." The two chatted for a while before Chancellor Zhou got to the main topic. "Marshal Uncle Yen, I heard that the Academy is promoting a vice dean. I will ask Marshal Uncle Yen to put in a good word for me. After the matter is done, I will definitely repay you heavily." "Marshal Nephew Zhou, you are indeed smart. You have found the right person to look for me. To be honest, although Marshal Nephew Gu has some say in this matter, the ones who make the decisions are my two masters. My two masters love me the most, so in the end, it's up to me to decide who will be the vice principal." Yin Chuzhou said smugly. "Marshal Uncle Yin is right. Then, I'll leave this matter to you. In the future, if you need anything, just say the word." Chancellor Zhou said in a fawning manner. "Marshal Nephew Zhou, put aside the things you don't say. I heard that you guys have already discussed how to deal with me. Is there such a thing?" Chancellor Zhou thought to himself, if a dead fellow Taoist doesn't die, this poor Taoist will take the opportunity to get rid of those few competitors. Thus, he added fuel to the fire, and recounted the conspiracy that day. Yin Chuzhou immediately slapped the table. "This is really outrageous. From what you said, the culprit is Director Zhao. No wonder the two masters dislike him the most. He is indeed a black-hearted person. Let me give you a piece of advice. In order not to anger the two masters, you should pay less attention to Director Zhao in the future." Director Zhou repeatedly agreed. In his heart, he was determined to draw a clear line with Director Zhao so that he would not be implicated. Seeing that he was almost done, Director Zhou took his leave. Yin Chuzhou took out a small porcelain bottle and handed it to him. "This is the marrow cleansing and body strengthening pill that I obtained with great difficulty from my master. I will give it to you as a reward." Director Zhou was immediately overwhelmed by the favor. He did not expect to see money again. This troublemaker was not so hateful after all. Soon Director Run and the others also came to visit. The process was exactly the same. They voluntarily gave Yun Chuzhou a generous gift and then left gratefully. Only Director Zhao did not come. "Qingcheng, I heard that Director Zhao has been having a hard time recently. Not only did President Gu give him a hard time, but the other chancellors also opposed him. He really deserves it," Ding Wenru said gloatingly. Yin Chuzhou was not surprised at all. This was all planned by her. Director Zhao's life was indeed a little hard. He really did not understand. They had originally agreed to form an alliance. But why did they exclude him in the blink of an eye? Although everyone was at odds with each other for the position of vice director, the other few were at least doing well on the surface. Why did they all have to target him? He also wanted to look for Yin Qingcheng, but he felt that he could not afford to lose face. Moreover, he felt that Yin Qingcheng would not help him at all. After all, he had offended her too harshly. He did not expect that Yin Qingcheng would take the initiative to visit him. Chapter 6013 Love is a deep responsibility. Director Zhao heard from the guards that Yin Qingcheng had come. The first thought that flashed through his mind was that she had come to add insult to injury and see him become a laughingstock. He snapped, "I'm not going to see you. Yo, Marshal Nephew Zhao. It's been a few days since we last met. Your temper has grown. Even I, an elder, have to be refused entry. Are you trying to rebel?" Director Zhao was livid when he saw He Xinjiu enter uninvited. If it were not for the two grand elders, he would have strangled her to death. "What are you doing here? You are not welcome here. See you out," Director Zhao said in a bad mood. "Marshal Nephew Zhao, you have really disappointed me. I wanted to talk to you about the deputy headmaster. Since you are so tactless, I will take my leave." He Xinjiu turned around and was about to leave when Director Zhao hurriedly said, "Wait." He quickly waved his hand to dismiss the guards, and then asked tentatively, "What did you say just now? About the vice director? Could it be that the candidate has been chosen?" Yin Chujiu glanced at him, shook her head and sighed, making Director Zhao's heart flutter. "Marshal Nephew Zhao, I heard that you haven't been having a good time recently?" Director Zhao's face immediately showed some embarrassment. "It's just so. It's still passable. Let's not talk about this. Has the vice director's selection been decided?" Yin Chujiu let out a long sigh. "Marshal Nephew Zhao, do you know that there's a saying? Love is deep and responsibility is deep. The reason why the two grand elders beat you the most was because they had high hopes for you. To be honest with you, this vice director was tailor-made for you. But your performance has really disappointed the two of them." Director Zhao was immediately dumbfounded. What the hell? The two grand elders' favorite candidate was him? Beating him up because love is deep and responsibility? After a long while, Director Zhao asked with doubt, Is what you said true?" "Of course it's true. Otherwise, why do you think those people isolated you? It's because they think you're the biggest threat." Yun Chujia's face was full of resentment. When Director Zhao heard that, he was immediately enlightened. No wonder President Gu and Director Ren isolated him. It turned out that they were jealous. Director Zhao only felt that his pent-up anger had been swept away. Even Yun Chujiu became a lot more pleasing to the eye. In fact, this troublemaker was not so annoying. "Marshal Nephew Zhao, it's not that I want to criticize you, but even if they are jealous of you, you should think of a way to build a good relationship with them. Otherwise, no matter how much my two masters think of you, you can't provoke the public, right?" Yin Chujiu said earnestly. Director Zhao said somewhat helplessly, "It's not that I don't want to build a good relationship with them. It's mainly that they ostracize me. What can I do?" Yin Chujiu sighed. "This is indeed a bit difficult. Generally speaking, outstanding people are lonely. For example, you and I are both like this." Director Zhao. Yin Chujiu thought for a while and said, "The relationship between those martial nephews and me has been getting better recently. How about this? I'll be the host and treat you to a meal. When the time comes, I'll help you to make peace. Maybe it will improve." Director Zhao said suspiciously, "Let's not beat around the bush. I have been against you many times before. Why do you want to help me?" Yin Chujiu sighed and said with a compassionate look, "My two masters often taught me to put the academy's interests first. Although we have some small conflicts, it is not a big grudge. I have long put it aside. In the end, it is because you are too outstanding. A tree stands out in the forest, and the wind will destroy it. What is wrong with you?" Chapter 60:14 Gratitude goes without saying Director Zhao was so touched that he almost cried. He had been receiving cold words these few days. He did not expect that the first person who cared about him would be Yin Qingqing, the troublemaker. It seemed that he had misunderstood her in the past. In fact, this troublemaker was actually good in nature. Marshal Uncle Yen, I'll have to trouble you then. Don't worry. If I become the vice principal, I will definitely not forget your kindness in helping me. Yin Chujio nodded and then frowned. Other things are fine. The main thing is that I'm a little short of money recently, so the standard of the seat might be a little low. You won't mind, right? Director Zhao quickly said. Marshal Uncle Yen, you're making peace for me. How can I let you spend money? Take these spirit stones first. If it's not enough, I'll make up for it. Another sum of spirit stones came in, and the smile on He Xinjia's face immediately became more sincere. Marshal Nephew Zhao, don't worry. Leave everything to me. I will go back and prepare. Set a date, and I will get someone to send you an invitation. Under Director Zhao's grateful gaze, Yin Chujio walked out of his courtyard. Her heart was simply filled with joy. The plan was progressing very smoothly. As long as the fire was simmered down slowly, the deputy director would be hers in the end. She would find another opportunity to stroll around the 10,000 Buddha's sacred hall, save her cheap parents, and then have sex with the gigolo. When this fellow thought of this, she suddenly thought of a problem. Damn it, as long as Goei Batsao was around, it was impossible for her to have sex with the gigolo. This damned Goei Batsao. Recently, a certain grass that had rarely been scolded shook its leaves. Was she blaming it? A little girl who wanted to have sex all day long. How shameless. When Yin Chujio returned to the primeval institution, Chu Feng was waiting for her with his legs crossed. Dear disciple, you're finally back. Have you finished reading the sheepskin scroll I gave you 2 days ago? Have you learned all the talismans on it? Yin Chujio nodded. Master, I have learned it, but my cultivation is not enough, so I can't carve it out. Chu Feng frowned and said, I forgot if you didn't mention it. You said that you're quite smart. Why is your spiritual power so low? Have you been slacking off and not cultivating properly? He Xinjiu smiled bitterly in her heart. It was not that she was slacking off. No matter how hard she worked, it would be useless if the heavenly lightning did not strike her. However, it reminded her that she should go to Thunder Valley to collect rent when she had time. Chu Feng saw that Yin Chujio was a little depressed, so he quickly said, My good disciple, you don't have to worry too much. It's okay if your cultivation is low. I'll help you refine some good pills to cleanse your marrow. I guarantee that your cultivation speed will be faster. Yin Chujio was too embarrassed to discourage him. She nodded and asked, Where are Sister Ding and Master Zhuang? Although that girl can't be compared to you, her comprehension in refining artifacts is pretty good. Zhuang Mu found a place to teach her how to refine artifacts, Chu Feng said. As the two of them were talking, Zhuang Mu and Ding Wenru came back. Zhuang Mu seemed to be in a good mood. He thought that this disciple of his was a good-for-nothing. He did not expect that she was a good seedling for refining weapons. Not only did she have a good comprehension ability, but she also had great strength, and was willing to endure hardships. This was a pleasant surprise. Ding Wenru's expression was also a little more relaxed than usual. She knew what she was capable of. She had borrowed the light of Qingqing to become the master of the 2 grand elders. Naturally, she had to work extra hard to not embarrass Qingqing. There was no need to thank her for her great kindness. If there was a chance in the future, she would definitely repay Qingqing properly. After dinner, Zhuang Mu said seriously, The 2 of us have something to do, and will be away for a period of time. The 2 of you should cultivate well. If you have something to do, go look for little Guzi. Chapter 60:15 He Xinjiu held a banquet. Master, when will you come back? I can't bear to let you go. Yin Chujio said with tears in her eyes. This fellow was overjoyed in her heart. Once the 2 of them left, wouldn't she be the one with the highest seniority in the 10 Directions Academy? It was so wonderful. At most 2 months, at least 1 month. Zhuangmu and Chu Feng did not know what she was thinking. Seeing how reluctant she was to part with him, they felt comforted and thought that this disciple was not taken in for nothing. The two reminded her for a while more before leaving. Ding Wenru looked at He Xinjiu, who was smiling like a flower. She suddenly had a feeling that the following days would definitely be very lively. 2 days later, President Gu and the 6 chancellors received He Xinjiu's invitation. The main idea was to celebrate her success in becoming her master by hosting a banquet. President Gu felt that he and Yin Qingqing were on the same side, so he naturally agreed readily. The 5 chancellors also agreed in order to curry favor with her. Director Zhao even agreed readily. This was a banquet that Yin Qingqing had specially arranged for him. How could he not go? Thus, the next day, President Gu and the other 3 arrived at the primeval subdivision on time. The banquet was set in the courtyard of the primeval subdivision. The big night pearls on the ground were so dazzling that they blinded the eyes of the 7 people. This troublemaker had been crying poor all this time. They had never thought that there would be such a good thing. The table was already filled with dishes. They looked delicious and looked very sincere. Martial nephews, I didn't expect you to be so gracious. I'm so touched. Sister Ding, quickly take the gifts from all of you. Seriously, just come, what else do you need? Although it's to celebrate the success of Sister Ding and I as master, there's no need to give such an expensive gift. President Gu, the 6 chancellors, who said anything about giving gifts? They actually had to accept gifts. However, seeing Ding Wenru coming over to take the gifts with a big smile, they had no choice but to give the gifts while gnashing their teeth. Come, take a seat. Don't stand on ceremony. He Xinjiu smiled brilliantly. De Hua's food expenses had been paid again. President Gu and the others were not in such a good mood. They counted on their fingers and realized that they had been cheated by this troublemaker several times recently. How shameless! Yin Chujio pointed at the full moon that had just risen above her head. Today is a good day. The secular world calls it the Mid-Autumn Festival. It's a day for family reunion. Although we haven't known each other for a long time, our feelings are no. From now on, we will be a harmonious and beautiful family. Come, I'll drink tea instead of wine. Cheers first. President Gu and the others didn't want to brush off her good intentions. They picked up their wine glasses and downed them in one gulp. He Xinjiu poured herself another cup of tea and said, although we may have had some grudges in the past, it's just a trivial matter for a family to not speak of 2 families. Don't mention it again in the future. Come, let me propose another cup. President Gu and the others had no choice but to drink another cup. In the blink of an eye, He Xinjiu persuaded them to drink a few cups. After a few cups of wine, everyone felt much more relaxed, and the atmosphere at the banquet became much warmer. However, Director Sun and the others still ignored Director Zhao. Director Zhao could not help but look at Yin Chujio for help. Yin Chujio nodded her head indiscernibly and said with a smile, in fact, apart from celebrating Sister Ding and me as master, there is one more thing today. Martial nephew Zhao wants to explain the previous misunderstanding to everyone. He knows that he was wrong. He shouldn't have caused trouble for no reason. Come, junior martial nephew Zhao, punish yourself with 3 cups. I believe that everyone will not hold it against you. Chapter 60 16 Happiness. Although Director Zhao felt that this was a little different from what he had expected, he could only put on a red face and punish himself with 3 glasses of wine. Director Sun and the others were a little nervous. How could this troublemaker speak up for Director Zhao? Could it be that Director Zhao had given her benefits? However, no one dared to offend He Xinjiu now, so they all laughed and drank a glass of wine, as if they were giving Yin Chujio face. Yin Chujio said a few more words of peace, and then changed the topic. I know that everyone has some thoughts about the vice headmaster's matter recently. This is also a good thing. This shows that you are motivated and want to contribute more to the academy. Director Zhao and the others were exposed, and they could not help but feel a little embarrassed. It's good to have thoughts, but just thinking about it is not enough. You have to show results, so that my two masters and the headmaster can know who is the most suitable candidate. It's not just you. As long as people in the academy can contribute to the academy, have ideas and have courage, they can all become vice presidents. So, you have to put your thoughts in the right place in the future. Don't let down the high hopes of my two masters. Dean, don't you think I'm right? Although President Gu felt that there was something wrong with these words, he was a little drunk now. He didn't think about it carefully and nodded. That makes sense. In this matter, I will treat everyone equally. Whoever performs well will be the vice president. Director Zhao and the others did not realize that something was wrong. They all swore to express their loyalty to the academy. Yun Chujio quietly put away the recording stone in her sleeve. The vice president was already waving at her. In a few days, she would think of a way to buy the hearts of the people and dig a few more holes. Then the vice president would naturally succeed. Just as this fellow was thinking happily, President Gu frowned and looked up at the sky. Director Zhao and the others also looked up. They saw that the full moon had already been covered by a large piece of dark cloud. Almost in an instant, a huge pressure enveloped them. It was difficult for them to breathe. What was going on? Everyone's drunkenness immediately dissipated a little. Could it be that a heavenly lightning was about to descend? Before the crowd had time to think further, with a loud rumble, a thick purple heavenly lightning descended from the sky and struck straight at them. Just as the crowd was in a daze, Yun Chujio shouted, "Get out of the way! Marshal Uncle, I'm here to save you!" As she shouted, President Gu and the others saw a figure tap the ground with the tips of his feet and charge straight towards the heavenly lightning. The thick heavenly lightning struck the figure, and He Xingjiu fell to the ground with a thud. She immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. "Don't worry about me. Run." President Gu and the others were shocked. Even though the heavenly lightning wouldn't do anything to them if they were prepared, they were still touched by Yin Qingcheng's behavior. At this moment, another heavenly lightning struck. Yun Chujio immediately jumped up like a rabbit and faced the heavenly lightning again. After being struck by the lightning, this guy spat out a mouthful of blood again and shouted at the top of his voice, "What are you still standing there for? Run! The 10 Directions Academy can't live without you. Sacrificing one of me will bring happiness to millions of families. I'm the elder and I'll take care of it." President Gu and the others were about to say something when another bolt of lightning struck down. He Xingjiu pushed away Director Zhao, who was closest to her, and said, "Junior nephew Zhao, I'm here to save you. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure."